Synced up. We're live. Audio's rolling.
Booyah.
And I did briefly, before you said you wanted to go live, I double-checked the stream preview audio, and it seemed like we were doing okay. A little soft. I'm sure the people at home, hello viewers,
Hello.
will be able to let us know if it is in fact too soft. All right.
Good times.
Okay. It's what's up.
It's what's up.
And before we tell you what is up, real quick, I would like to remind everybody this episode is brought to you by our patrons alike. Adam DeHarp, Uncle Comics, Because You, Architect 10, Blocks, G, Carlos, Qua, Ferris, Jeremy Vasquez, Jonathan Sandoval, Kylie Denton, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Regent Raptor, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Shawnee P, Some Guy Named Bob, Soda Son over 2 for 723. If you like what we do and want to see more, consider Patreon. You can access episodes early on, so have a good evening. Helps us out. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. I'm gonna drink some coffee.
See you.
Good coffee.
So, this may or may not come as a surprise to people, but today you are playing Final Fantasy XIV, and in fact, it is relevant. It is not just because you decided to do it.
No, like, unfortunately, I was thinking about maybe playing something else, but after last night, I'm like, no, I must play more. The music is in my soul. Or at least fucking, Soken's fucking Lahi rendition. You probably have not seen that. You probably don't care that much, but it is fucking hilarious. So, I'm gonna take the reins here for a moment and talk.
Go for it. I was about to invite you to gush about Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, so, at the time of recording, it is May 15th. We are technically in day 2 of the Final Fantasy XIV Digital Fan Fest. Now, what the Digital Fan Fest basically is instead of actually having a in-person, event, Square Enix decided that this year we will have a digital event that everyone could access. They basically set up a whole bunch of things over 2 days, and yesterday was the first day of it. Now, a few months ago, back in February, like right before Lucky got back into Final Fantasy, and honestly, you can probably say it's the reason why he got back into it, Square Enix released the first teaser trailer for Endwalker, which is going to be the next expansion in the Final Fantasy XIV series. I fucking love that trailer. I love it to death. I watched it like 50 fucking times. And if y'all had watched Let's Talk FGO yesterday, yesterday for me, you would know the moment that Lucky got to see the full version, because I completely and utterly abandoned ship to go watch it. And
Yep.
I do not regret it one bit. It is a fucking phenomenal trailer. The music is great. The visuals are amazing. And as someone who's been playing Final Fantasy XIV for a long time, and I'm almost caught up on the main scenario quest, which is the main story in the game, it definitely feels like the trailer is definitely signifying that we are coming to an end. Not the end, an end. They have said multiple times that while Endwalker is a end of sorts, it is not the actual final thing in this. We are coming to the close on this story, the Ascian Saga, as we may call it. But things are definitely coming to a head. So after that bit, frickin' Yoshi P came out, dressed up as if he just came from Bloodborne, which was completely on point because he was basically doing a class announcement for the game. We already knew about Sage, which is going to be this interestingly built, that's the best way I can say it, white healer class that looks like it might have some DPS potential. I don't know. There's actually no actual details out on it right now. But
Yeah, we may or may not want to get into the historic context of some of these ideas, because they're doing some things which are relatively new and some stuff which are old classics. So we can talk about that later.
Yep.
But yes, you were in the middle of talking about the other class he wanted to represent.
Yes. So he came out dressed out and said, looking Bloodborne, carrying a giant scythe. And that day, we got the Reaper class announced, which is going to be a melee class that seems to have some magical damage output. Very dark, much scythe. Looks like you get a cool Phantom Spirit to hang out with you. Many people are excited. After that, it was just a lot of interesting news talking about what's coming out for Endwalker. The new dungeons, new raids, new locations. Talking about how they're going to finally have data center transfers. Although they haven't necessarily talked about how that's going to work. They said it's actually a very, very complicated thing to actually make happen, and they're working very hard on it. So they don't want to necessarily get anyone's hopes up of what it can and cannot do. But they did say that at the very least, people will be able to perform dungeon duties together. As of right now, in Final Fantasy XIV, you can visit other people's worlds / servers, but you can't switch data centers. So it'll definitely be a step up. And speaking of the data centers, this was announced a little bit later, but they also talked about how they're opening up the Oceania data center here soon. Because, unfortunately, right now they only have 3 data centers. They have America, basically Japan / Asia, and then Europe. And they were actually talking about how they have many people in Pacific Islands in Australia who play. And they're usually regulated to the Asian or to the Asian or North America data server. Actually, Loth, the person who probably plays this game with me the most, is actually from Australia, and has constantly lamented how his latency is whatnot is completely and utterly borked. So that is good news. Among other things, as I said, they talked about a lot of things. Talking about they'll finally be opening up Ishgardian housing, and maybe even making some changes to the housing system, which is something that me and my free company, Crow Mafia. Have I ever told the story about why Crow Mafia is?
I don't think so.
It's not really that long a story, but yes, calm, motherfucker. Before, like I said, when I got back into Final Fantasy here, I made up a free colony. I called it the Church of Curvatology because I'm lucky. But there was just this one moment. Me and Loth were doing a dungeon duty, so we get paired with a couple randos. We're doing Keeper of the Lake, and the very first boss of that dungeon is a bird that for some odd reason is just wielding a giant cannon in its claws. No rhyme or reason. This just has a fucking gun in its claws, and we're just all like, why the fuck does this bird have a gun? And there was a lot of, jokes in the background. Someone just said, Crow Mafia, and everyone just completely fucking lost it. Again, that's why we're just like, caw, motherfucker. And it just stuck, and I don't know why I decided to switch it back, but to switch it over to Crow Mafia, but honestly, I like the feel of it a lot better. That's one of the reasons why the Final Fantasy chat room, I guess I would call it, is called the Crow's Nest. So, yeah, and that's why there's also the role on our Discord called the Crow Mafia. It's basically for people who have joined Lucky's Final Fantasy free company. But, yeah, so, I was talking about this.
It serves as a containment for your memes.
Yes, because that is something I definitely notice. When me, Loth, and Suna are playing Final Fantasy, we utterly bombard games with Final Fantasy memes and stuff. Not to mention, I've also noticed people do actually frequently use games for, various stuff. Like, whatever the new hotness is, people are in games talking about it.
I had to mute games for a little bit because there was the open beta, I think, for the new Guilty Gear, and just people were just losing their shit trying to get in. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to mute this for a little bit till this calms down.
Yeah, so instead of, me and everyone else trying to fight over space, I thought this would be better. I actually have a group. Actually, double checked to see how many people you have in your progression group, and I almost have the same amount of people. So I was like, yeah, no, I think this warrants.
You also have some of the same people.
Exactly, yeah. So I thought no, this warrants enough to have a channel. This is a group that we do on a regular basis, and it will help contain a lot of the madness that we do, and will help contain maybe some out of context things. Because another thing I noticed is at one point Loth was having a trouble with something. We couldn't figure it out. And someone literally came out of left field and started yelling about it. And Loth was all like, I don't care. Why are you talking about this? Get out of my face. So I was like, yeah, maybe we should just have a spot. So
it was a problem where you had an internal VC thing, and then there was no context. Nobody realized this was using images in an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, we go back and forth on our server rules. This is why for most people it's encouraged that if you're having a VC conversation, put your various links, images, GIFs, whatever in the general chat, so at the very least people can know what's going on.
Yeah.
And realize that it's a VC thing. So, yeah.
But
I mean, it makes sense, and we may or may not talk about your remodeling of the.
yeah. But going back on the FanFest, like I said, we're talking about having Ishgardian housing, which again, I'm excited for me and my free company. Because if you do not know, the Final Fantasy fucking housing market is fucking absolutely goddamn bullshit. It is nearly...
I believe you have said something to this effect before, yes.
Yes, it is like it is the trial, housing extreme. Which means it's the hardest difficulty. Like... People like it's I guess the best way it's a scalper's market. People will buy and then just hold on to like as many fucking houses as they can and just sell them for ridiculous fucking prices, because no one in this goddamn game understands how an economy work, or they're fucking hoarders, and people will literally figure out ways to build out entire wards of houses. We're talking how like, oh, I don't know, like 20 to 30 houses in one area, and they're like, no, all mine. I'm not doing anything with them. I just want them.
Economics are interesting.
Yeah.
That's always something that I never had the time or inclination to play EVE Online, but that's always something that fascinated me, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, usually, like, a lot of people, like... Here's the thing. This is the thing about... Oh, my duty is ready. This is the thing about, like, economics. Usually, it's never, like 95% of the people's problem. It's just a small subset of people who will constantly fuck things up for you, but you have to react accordingly to those 5%, otherwise they'll just keep getting away for it. But guess what? They'll just keep moving on. You're just like, oh, it's really easy to fuck up. And I'm just like, God, I wish there was more. Wish there was more safety nets involved. But it's also hard to involve safety nets and at the same time respect freedom. It really is.
Yeah, especially for MMO stuff, you know.
Yeah,
like when you've got a structured system.
Oh, and by the way, I'm going to state this. Anyone who says if you would give up a bit of your freedom for a bit of security, you decide neither, shut the fuck up and get out of here. That's not how the world works, you animals. Oh. But, yeah, so I'm going to try and get us a sweet guild house so we can do guild content. Because, unfortunately, Final Fantasy XIV has this thing where while it's nothing crucial, they have a few things that are locked behind having a house, specifically like gardening, chocobo stables, airship missions, submarine missions, workshops, all this nice stuff that, like I said, a majority of the fan base, well, I shouldn't say fan base, a majority of the players are locked out of because either they don't have a company house, or the company that they are part of, like, don't let them have access to it. It's a bit of a weird thing. So, like I said, they were talking about how they are trying to fix that. I'm done. Where's the... Sorry, I'm fighting Leviathan right now. It's only hard, but... Gotta get... Okay. What is this person screaming? Why are you spanning? Stop that. Lucky has gone on a trip through like many free companies and people, because he's played a long time. I played for like 2 years before I took like a 2-year break, and you know, I started by myself, so you know, I met friends, made allies, all that stuff, and yeah, no, housing's a pain. But yeah, so housing. Moon House. No, we're not gonna have Moon House. We're gonna get Ishgard House. But speaking of the moon, they did actually show something fucking adorable. They showed off one of their new beast tribes. What was it? The Lorebits? The Lobits? Loporits. And they are small bunny people. I'm just like, yas.
They live on the moon, because of course they do.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't have a race of bunnies on the moon, I was gonna be a little bit disappointed in Japan. We'll get there soon. Don't worry. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else they might have particularly talked about. They talked about something called Island Sanctuaries, which seems to be the new crafting, gathering hotness, and maybe some other fun stuff. Not a lot of detail there, but I'm excited for it. Lucky does enjoy the crafting and the gathering. I plan on doing it as much as possible while I'm not killing things. And I think that was the majority, well, not of the announcements. Well, there was another one they actually Yoshi P actually put the one more thing, and Koji, the meme now, he's a fucking meme now. He was actually trending on Twitter for a little bit. Actually reminded Yoshi P that there was one more thing. Actually made little bunny ears with his hands. And yes, no. After this is how I put it when I was in Limsa Lamensa. People bitched enough, and Square Enix was like, "Fuck, fine." They will actually be male Vieira in game. They also did clarify to say that there will also be female Hrothgar, but that's coming
eventually.
But that's coming later. They showed a little trailer, and Lucky was in game at this point, and people were going mad. Like, you people do not understand just how much people were screaming about how there will be bunny boys, and how everyone is going to switch to a bunny boy.
I understand, because literally it was trending.
Yes, bunny boys was literally trending. It was that intense. But like I said, but there is gonna be no actual like new playable race. They're just gonna be adding multi-genders for existing races, which is fine. I don't care.
Yeah, they don't need to go crazy. Yeah. I also want to throw out there, I do believe this is the first ever canonical appearance of a male Vieira.
Yes.
I don't believe that they ever actually got up. Which is, interesting they waited so long.
Yeah. Like I said, they were probably just working it.
Then again, some of that is probably because Vieira are an Evilise race, and they were primarily in Tactics Advance first, where, in the original Tactics Advance, they're, like, for purposes of gear and, like, laws and stuff, they are the only female units other than the one, named human character who is also just a Vieira. Like, she's a human girl, but her job list is the Vieira job list, so. This is something they do much better in A2, where they have multiple iconic NPCs, major characters who are female but can access, say, Hume jobs. But yeah, I assume originally that was part of the balance of like certain effects that work for like, different monsters can like charm different genders and stuff. And then there was the classic items like the rubber suit, the Minerva Bustier, which is female only kind of thing. But I'm fairly certain the MMO doesn't have that.
No.
So yeah, it's fine. It's good on them for bringing that in. And as you can see from our thumbnail, I managed to find an image of a male Vieira on the internet and make it transparent. They mostly look like girl Vieira, but
they don't have tits.
Slightly more boyish. They're pretty boys.
No, well, everyone has been talking about the Catboy extinction event that's about to happen.
R.I.P. Catboys.
Yeah. Because at the moment, the pretty boy option is Mikote, the cat people. Like, that's actually, I still think that is, like, the majority of the player race, if I remember correctly.
It's very iconic. So I think in 11 the cat race was just cat girls. And then when they did 14, they also did a catfolk race. And they did both genders, I think, to start. Did they? Or did they add males later?
I couldn't tell you.
My lore is unclear.
Unclear.
Well, gosh, and also, who knows? That's also the other thing. We've talked about this before with 14. With 14, you got to be careful talking about your timelines, because the first version of the game wasn't good, and then they did Realm Reborn, which basically completely overhauled it. So, goodness knows what the dark times were like.
You do not know.
But yeah, that was and now they've done another thing where they introduced Vieira first in 14, and they're like, eventually we'll just get in there. We'll just get in there.
Get in there, and they got in there. They got in there.
Hey, that opens up options for future shit. I'm still holding out hope for FFXIV. Put on the Twitch. Listen, guys, Evilise is hot right now.
So,
but yeah.
But
it's interesting. It's neat.
Yeah.
As an Evilise connoisseur myself, I think it's interesting, and it's one of those things that's you can't. Some people like to throw stones at the quote unquote sexism of Final Fantasy sometimes. But no, here's bunny boys. They look exactly like they're women, so you can't really say much. They're there.
They're there. Now, the Digital Fan Fest didn't stop at that. No, that was actually only the keynote. They actually had several events after that. Development panels, lore panels. There's a couple others, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. But another one, which has already reached a meme status, was a piano concert of, many iconic 14 tracks performed by the artist Keiko. This got hijacked by the Final Fantasy XIV main composer, Masayoshi Soken, who literally came out with two, what are they called, otophones? They're
yes, something bad. Omatones
or something like that. And played a very bad version of the Great Wood theme. I can't remember what is at the top of my head. And he's just sings...
Automaton. A cursed instrument.
A cursed. He had two of them. And he's just going out there going, Lahi! And... Actually, do I still... Actually, hang on. Let me just grab... I put it in the crow's nest because it is a thing. Will this work? Is it called Civilization?
Oh, I do want to, while he's looking, I do want to throw it out there. That is, other than I needed a private place to coordinate games and matches and stuff without people butting in, that is the other reason why we have Progression has its own secret channel as well, because it contains all of the out of context nonsense memes we post to each other and stuff that doesn't really belong in our traditional games.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure that Soken just barged in and did not inform her, because just look at that face. This is the face of, well, we're doing this now.
What? This is the, I guess this is the bit face.
Yeah. And you can find it on Twitter. It's great. And he, like, full 2 minutes, he's just screaming Lahi and jamming on his ultimate phones. It was great. So no, there's a couple good, like a good few memes. Like a lot of people. Omega, you know the "such devastation" line.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I've followed your memes.
Mm-hmm.
I know many of them.
So, to explain to everyone out there, in the main scenario quest, there is a dungeon called the Praetorium, which is somewhat infamous because it has a fuck ton of long cutscenes, and you're not allowed to skip them. You're just not allowed to skip them. You have to sit through them
every... Final Fantasy. You cannot skip the cutscenes.
You cannot skip the cutscene. And so people have, started poking fun at certain bits. We like to talk about Daddy Gaius. We like to talk about the sexual tension between Cid and Nero. And every time that Ultima is fired and Gaius reacts, he says, "Such devastation. This was not my intent." Now, it should be noticed that when Yoshi P came out, he was dressed in what looked to probably be like a tight leather outfit and was doing a lot of walking and talking. So he got hot. So he was taking a lot of drinks from his water bottle. And so now there is several memes of him just with a bottle of water and people going, "Such hydration."
Perfect.
It is perfect.
You gotta love when you have a nice memesy.
Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of images going around of I believe his name is Christopher. What is it? Was it Michael Christopher Koji Fox? I'm sorry, I can't think of it. He has like 4 names in there, but there's Koji. There's a Fox in there. Of him pretending to be Yoshi P's Reaper for his Phantom for his Reaper class. That's another great one out there.
Yeah, that's the. I believe that's the thing that's been said about Reapers, is that they also get to summon up like dark creatures to help them.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that.
What are they? Magical melee, right? Like they're magic damage but melee.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, by the way, so I was actually something. If you don't have any other memes to bring up, that is something I wanted to bring up about this. Is while we've talked that Sage is an established class. It's showed up in several classic Final Fantasies. It's in all the tactics games, and so on. It's Reaper is very interesting because as far as I can tell, that has no basis as a outright job in Final Fantasy anywhere yet. There are very frequent instances of Grim Reapers, deaths, Reaper, whatever, throughout the games, going back to like the original Final Fantasy. There's always been a little Spratey Boy Reaper you can fight. And there is an ability, a recurring ability, that is sometimes translated as Reaper. But literally translated, it means mow down. You might also see it as like swipe or clear out or whatever. You know, just big attacks on area enemies. Very common.
I believe that.
Reaper's fairly unique.
No. I guess it does say something to the effect that it looks like the main villain seems to be in this class.
Yeah.
So
doing my little bit of like reading on what's been released about the job so far to see if anybody on like the Final Fantasy wiki was like, trivia, this is actually related to this obscure job that showed up once. None of that so far, by the way. Did note that they can like summon dark creatures to aid them a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if they also have some affinity with the instant death or doom effects.
That might be cool.
Because that's fairly common. And Sage is just an interesting one. Usually Sage is one of the ultimate casters. They have access to high-level black and white magic, which is probably why they are healers, but also can do some damage in this context.
I'm a healer, but crack knucks.
I'm a healer, but I can cast Ultima. So yeah, Sage is kind of like, in some versions of the game, Final Fantasies, it's the ultimate red mage type job. You get access to all the highest level shit. In other cases, it's a kind of a hybrid class for buffs and debuffs, and also some physical damage. So it'll be interesting to see how they flavor that one out.
Yep. And speaking of,
I'll just wrap up real quick. As a longtime Final Fantasy man, you know, going back into the 90s, I always appreciate that Final Fantasy, on the one hand, while it loves its tropes, it's not afraid to do new shit either. Like, obviously, there's this new Reaper job, which doesn't seem super clearly connected to any previous jobs. You know, nobody's said the obvious. Like I said, there's no obvious trivia about it. And then bringing in male VR for the first time. That's neat. That's good of them to keep finding new stuff to do. So you wanted to move on to something?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. So they did give us a release date. The Endwalker expansion will be released November 23rd. So we still got some time. We still got like over 6 months to get there. But they basically have already opened up pre-orders. They talked about how they have the physical collector's edition, the digital collector's edition, the standard edition, and then the box edition. Because they actually mentioned this, they are no longer selling disc-based media for this game. Because
I mean, it makes sense.
Yep, they ran the numbers and they said, I think they said it was like 85% of the purchases were all done via digital codes. So I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. When you just have that much of fucking, when you have that much of fucking majority, just fuck it.
Yeah. Might as well just be like, nah.
Yeah, so the collector's edition came with some nifty stuff. It came with like a pen, some clear files, you know, a cool statue. Costs $140 bucks. It's already sold out. It's gone. You can't get it. Bye.
Welcome to Collector's Editions.
Welcome to Collector's Editions.
Also, welcome to Collector's Editions debuted on, you know, giant live streams. Showing off to people.
Yeah. But they also have their digital collection, which is, you know, just some cool stuff, some neat stuff. And, you know, pre-order bonuses, which is also more neat stuff. The interesting thing that I definitely took note is when you pre-order, you'll get early access, which means you'll be able to get into the games 4 days earlier. And if they've been doing this for a while, I don't know if they've like done this before, but if they have, this explains how people just have the guides fucking ready. Just here we go.
I assume that's what it is. Probably is that hardcore players and guide writers probably get the early access. That or their, you know, beta testing. And also, I mean, early access makes sense because if that's a limited number of people, right, that means you get to soft test your servers before you explode anything.
Yep.
Which is good. Most games with big online server elements explode. I was talking earlier about how like a lot of people were into the new Guilty Gear beta. I believe that also exploded a little bit.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So that's that's what happens when you do a network test. Stuff explodes.
Mm-hmm. This is why they do network tests.
Yeah, it's to see how bad it explodes and how we can fix that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I'm going to believe that I will maintain my Final Fantasy excitement for quite a while. I have watched the full trailer like 8 times. No, more than 8 times. Probably more closer to 20 times. Just it's good. I'll probably link the thing. Like I linked it in our channel, but oh, sorry, I was reading things. Yes, I know about that, but that if you're doing damage, that usually means you're not healing, which means when I'm playing attack, that means I'm probably dying. And then
honestly, I assume that this is a kind of thing that like a lot of like I sincerely hope that most MMO games don't make their healers only able to heal ever, because that sounds dumb. What if you're not being hit right now? Like, what if somebody else has done something where like they're temporarily invincible or whatever? Then you have nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I would assume most games give you the ability to do a little bit of damage or other buffs or stuff while you're also healing. So it's just that, as Lucky just said, when you're doing that, that means you're not healing.
And the way you put this is healers have to DPS? No, they don't. They DPS because they want to finish this raid like, I don't know, like 2 minutes faster. That's why they do it.
Which is also not required, though. Obviously, if you're a hardcore raid guy, I could also see why you would want to finish it in 2 minutes faster.
Yeah. Now, like, okay, now here's a fun story. This is the fun thing about me having my lads with me when I'm doing random parties. So we were doing Heroes Gauntlet, which is a level 80 dungeon. It's near in-game content, and we got I was running tank, and Loth and Soon were running DPS. We were doing it for I don't remember what reasons, but we were doing it. We did 2 runs, and they were completely different fucking runs. The first, but they had the same thing, is that we got an aggressively forward healer. Now, when I say aggressively forward healers, I mean they would literally run out in front of everyone, grab aggro, and then run back, and then act panicky when everything's beating them up and the tank doesn't have it. The first time was okay, because while they were aggressive and forward, they didn't necessarily completely outstrip the party. They made sure to check and make sure that we were, everyone was healed up, everyone was doing fine. The second one completely disregarded everything that we were doing and fucking just kept fucking going to this fucking point. I said, if you don't fucking slow down, we're just gonna abandon here and you're just gonna have to find a new fucking party. And they were just all like, wow. And I was like, don't you fucking wow me. I didn't actually say that part because I didn't actually want to start a fucking online argument, because those never fucking end well.
Lucky, the only thing I can say right now is Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. But they still kept doing it, so when we got to the final boss, I was like, Loth, Suna, we're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna let them get beat by the boss that they were so eager to fucking.
You're gonna let the fighty boy fight the boss.
Yeah, I was gonna let the mage fight the boss, and we just stood there for like a good 5 minutes as they're constantly trying to help, jumping around, trying to bring the boss over to us. We're just like, no.
I'm good.
I'm
Go
good.
get him, killer.
I was like, I'm not against, people, like, there's a reason why we have, like, specific rules. And I'm not against people, like, trying to get, ek out that extra little bit. But at the same time, I'm just like, fuck, like, don't.
Or if you don't want to heal, don't be a healer right now.
Yeah.
If you want to run forward and murder guys, play deeps.
And also, communicate with the fucking rest of the party of what you want to happen. Because this is the other thing that kills me, because, like I said, it's not necessarily that, like, healers will do DPS that bugs me. It's usually they start doing it without, like, any warning whatsoever, or ever talking without the rest of the party of what they want to fucking do. They just start fucking doing it, and then I'm dying over there, and I have to hit my super belide, and they still don't fucking heal me, so I fucking... Oh, I guess I should explain this. My only tank class that I have fully leveled is Gunbreaker, and their oh shit button is a skill called Super Belide, which is really dumb, but, potentially useful. So basically, it drops my HP down to 1, but it makes me invincible for fucking... Oh, I don't know. What was it, like 7 seconds? I don't know. For a time. At which point I can take damage again.
Basically, if you're gonna die anyway, you're just like, now what if I didn't though for a little bit?
Yeah, you know, to get things up. But no, I'm in that situation, and guess what? The healer's still there casting fucking glare. I'm just so like, but I'm dying. It's like, why didn't we talk about this? Because unfortunately, again, people got to go Noom in this fucking game and get things done as fast as possible. God, it reminds, like, I'm sorry, I guess I'm bitching about Final Fantasy XIV now, but I have this big problem of people who expect too much out of people, yet won't communicate that at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? And like, depending on your game, depending on your service, you know, different things are worth different. Like,
yeah.
Like old Among Us before they added the simplified tech chat system. I've played a fair amount of Destiny with matchmaking and stuff, and Destiny didn't really, you know, I assume on PC it did, but I played on console because it's a fucking FPS shooter made by Bungie. And I like my fingers to not be fused into the shape of a triangular claw. Listen, guys, I've always played shooters on controller. I understand the quality of life with mice, but it's not comfortable to me. Maybe if I get like a super expensive gaming mouse when I'm rich. Anyway, that's the kind of thing where like you don't really have to, unless you're doing a raid, which in Destiny raids are like real big deal, super complicated shit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to talk to anybody, right?
Right.
Like you have a couple callouts, but usually you can casually signal to others with just emotes you've got, just like, hey, over here, or I'm dancing, you know, do one of your many Destiny dances. Occasionally, if another player is being an asshole, you just use your melee button and give them a little love tap, like, oi, cut it out. But in an MMO-styled game like 14, where when you're playing on PC, you have, you know, a text chat bubble going all the time. I know this because I have seen you with the text chat screen caps. It's real easy to just, you know, type some stuff and just be like, switching to deeps, gonna do some damage. And, like, obviously communication is a two-way street, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and, you know, so some people out there might be thinking, oh, well, look, if you need healing, did you ask for healing? And I'm like, I don't know what the setup is for 14 either, by the way. Like, I don't know how easy it is to be like, need a healer over here.
Well, no,
Build
it's actually
here.
really fucking easy. If you look on the stream and you look in the upper fucking left corner, you can see everyone's.
I can see your bars.
Yeah,
that's the thing that was the thing I was gonna bring up though, right?
Yeah.
Which is, if you're playing a healer and your job is to heal, you should be looking at other people's bars to see if they're dying. And if they are dying, you should do some gosh darn healing.
Now,
Like I said, I haven't played a lot of like hardcore MMO like team stuff, but I have played RPGs, and I have played, you know, both tabletop and computer RPGs. I understand the roles and the systems. I would not want to be a healer unless I was dedicated to healing people. Right?
well, this is one. Well,
And I've played support classes before as well.
and Suna, like, ooh, it's like, to be fair, Suna, everyone has to look at something other than the fucking boss mechanics. I have to check my cooldowns constantly. I have to check my MP. I'm checking my own fucking health. You know, all that stuff. Everyone has to look more than just at the boss mechanics. And the other part I want to talk about communication is people who's in there for the first time, just say you're in there for the first time and I will fucking explain the goddamn mechanics to you. I've done this multiple times. Many people, like, okay, so there's a system in Final Fantasy XIV called the mentor system, in which if you play the game a lot and a lot of people fucking like you, they'll make you a mentor and being able to set you up with new people so you can explain the thing to them. Guess what? For some odd reason, though, a lot of mentors don't do fucking shit. They're just the gotta go fast, let's get through this as fast as fucking possible, never talk, don't explain anything. I'm pretty sure I have been in multiple...
Do you get some kind of reward out of the mentorship pairing, or is it just I'm higher level than you?
I believe it's a duty. Isn't it? Don't you get a mentorship duty or something like that you can access? Suna, you're a mentor, right?
But Suna's also saying...
Oh, it's just a Burger
okay.
King. Yeah, it's just a Burger King.
It's just a dumb badge. Then those people have no excuse. You should...
Yeah, like, if you don't
like,
get it actually...
I get why, like, if they rewarded you for it, I could see why some people would be like, oh, I'll be a mentor for a little thingy. But, like, is it just, like... well, like if it's just like a tchotchke, a title, a cosmetic, it's really not worth it to do it and be an asshole.
Yeah, so like I've had multiple runs where I have, like explain mechanics as we're fighting because like I said, my main DPS class is a summoner. I have a little Eggy that punches things automatically, and a lot of my damage, if I'm not doing a burst damage run, is just my fucking my DOT is just going. So I have time to just quickly type. Unfortunately, this is
you have an auto system. By the way, just want to say I still haven't tried it out. Don't have the time. I would love to try the free demo sometime and see what's up with it because I do really love Final Fantasy. I just have never been a huge fan of MMOs. It does, from what you've described, a lot of this stuff, and from what I've seen for we've talked about this before. There is a very excellent large-scale homebrew for D&D 5th edition to play Final Fantasy classes, both subclasses and wholly original class, and very detail-oriented down to the fact that like being a Final Fantasy 14 style ninja is fucking ludicrous. Because you got to do the fucking hand seal system.
Yep.
In D&D too, like you have to track what seals you're forming to do different things. But it's pretty cool. So I've read through all that stuff and it seems neat. But I do actually like that there are a lot of these little like different mechanics. Like you've talked about, you play summoner a lot, so you have your little Eggy, you have your little buddy who kind of sounds like constantly doing a little bit of damage without your input. He's just there,
It's honestly one of the greatest things ever is that it's with the summoner revamp, they actually the Eggy used to have a health bar, but they got rid of that, so now it's invincible and it ignores mechanics. So no matter what, your Eggy will be punching on that thing, even if you're running around screaming trying to dodge every single fucking AoE. Your Eggy is egg fast, just punching.
Yeah, that's a good way to handle a pet's class. And then you've also said to me before into the audience that summoners have a lot of, you just mentioned it, damage over time stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of negative status effects and slow grindy damage.
Yeah. Like I said,
So
like
neat
our
ways to
main damage is completely based around popping off a couple DOTs and the abilities around it. The other part of the damage is firing off a lot of big AoE bursts, which have long cooldowns.
That second part sounds familiar. Our DM did in fact have us fight a summoner once in the D&D, and he was super annoying.
Yeah.
He was able to use his little Eggy buddy as basically the origin for some spells he had. So I got blasted with color spray. That sucked. And another time I got triangle stunned. That also sucked. It's really, really annoying. But yeah, so it seems like they do what you should do when you've got a decent wealth of classes, and they do a lot of interesting different stuff with all the things. It's cool.
It is very cool. Like I said, I'm excited. I constantly lament that people are assholes.
The internet thing is, like there's a reason why we have these deep-seated references, memes, and archetypes for certain kinds of MMO players. Like that's just sunk into the ethos.
Yes, a great card. Then just sometimes I have a joke where anytime when I'm playing the guys, anytime I have a problem with anything, I just scream Akmorn, because that's basically one of Bahamut's ultimate attacks, and you get a mini version of it. It's super powerful. It blows stuff up. But anything I don't like, Akmorn. It's great.
How much space do you explode when you cast that?
It's not that big, but it comes from this guy. Actually,
how many nukes do you fire?
Oh, I just fire one big nuke.
Okay.
Like I said, it's not.
Listen, I talked about, I've been playing Final Fantasy since like the late 90s, early 2000s. My touchstone for Bahamut is always going to be 7, which is the classic scale up. You start at Mega Flare, which is just Bahamut vomits a nuke onto somebody, all the way to Terra Flare, which is like, oh, my giant satellite laser blows up a small continent.
Yeah, I know we're not that scale, but we do get to in Final Fantasy XIV, we do have limit breaks, and the first two are the same like per class, but the third one is unique to every class, and summoners do get to cast Terra Flare as their LB3. But it looks more like I guess you call it Matra Magic from 7, except it's just lasers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool.
Limit breaks is another very, very long-standing mechanic they've done a lot with over the years, and I think I like that they stick to it. This idea that you have a super attack. Everybody loves super attacks. They're the best.
They are the best. So actually, I didn't even.
Oh, and actually, like I said before, I don't usually play like RPG style MMOs. I've played a lot of online shooters and stuff. Like back before Blizzard decided to suck, I played a fairly decent amount of Overwatch, and I was that guy who would always try and switch to the thing that nobody's doing, because people on the internet are in fact assholes.
Yeah.
No healers. Well, guess I'll play Mercy.
I was a Mercy main myself.
Also, Mercy's great, especially after they revamped her. I know a lot of people got started on playing Lucio because he can do some damage as well, but no, I was just like, no, fuck it. If I'm gonna heal, I'm gonna play Mercy.
Let me just find someone who's doing a lot of fucking damage, and I'm just gonna fucking...
Is there a Pharah on my team?
You.
Follow her. But yeah, no, it's you see these kinds of comps and all these kinds of, like, anything that requires team-based multiplayer cooperation. You will find people who are just like, no, I want to do a meme and play all Roadhog. Okay, all right. What if I don't want to play all Roadhog? I guess just fuck me then, and it's my fault because I can't leave. Because as we've discussed, this is, I think, was related to part of the problem Loth was having earlier. Is these kinds of co-op games generally they hate you if you leave. They don't want you to leave. They want you to stay teamed up. It's very unfortunate because what if you've got a bad group? You can't leave.
Yeah, no, that's what happened there. And that one, Loth, there was a group, and we were just all like, okay, fuck this person, and we literally just bounced. And that's when Loth got hit with the abandon thing. We're trying to figure out, we were actually trying to figure out why the fuck that happened, because it should have been me who left, who got the penalty. But
yeah, I think that was part of the conversation that came up where the person who was talking about it was like, "Oh, I think it's because if you leave, whoever leaves first gets it." But
yeah. So we're confused about that. But like I said, can't. Oh, that person's getting blown up. But yeah, that's the problem. Internet people are internet people. I guess is the only way I can really put it.
And you can apply this to one of our other favorite hobbies of tabletop RPGs.
Yep.
Team comps are important. We often struggle with this in D&D because it is so strongly team comped as who does what where. As for instance, playing a, not necessarily a vanilla paladin, I'm playing a very, very recent subclass, Oath of Glory, which means I get a lot of buff stuff, and I am also the Speed Force paladin. Literally at level 7, your walk speed goes up by 10 feet, and then the ally who starts within 5 feet of you starts with 10 extra feet as well, so we fast. We speed. Yeah. If I ever get to like level 16 or whatever, I think it goes up to 30 feet. It's dumb. Paladins are dumb. It's just a raw paladin ability that eventually you get an aura, and no matter what your subclass is, that anybody who's within 10 feet of you gets plus your charisma bonus on all saving throws. So it's just my circle of protection. Come close, stand close to me, babies. You'll be fine.
Mama Paladin.
I occasionally whiff saving throws, but very rarely to my allies who are actually standing close to me because I have +4 charisma now. But it's part of the team comp. We had an interesting problem earlier where when we started the game, almost everybody could heal, so we often had issues of like, wait, who actually should be healing? Like all of us would be prepped for heal spells and get in there and stuff, but eventually we've settled on to mostly, I don't think we bother with in battle healing. Like I think Axes, our bard, still has access to cure wounds. Maybe. He might. I know he's dropped Healing Word, but that's because Healing Word is like a D4. Axe actually hasn't told us a lot about his Lancer stories. He's volunteered a couple of times, but we haven't had time to sit down and do it. Usually when we're in D&D, it's me and Robin and Dallas who are constantly derailing the game, and Axe just really wants us to get back to playing D&D, so... I think he might die of shame if he accidentally derailed us with a story of his own. But yeah, like, Axe dropped Healing Word because I believe Healing Word is actually kind of It's like when you're starting out early, it's like a D4 at range, so it's useful, but it's action economy in D&D is a whole thing, and sometimes it sucks.
Sometimes it sucks.
I've talked about this before myself. But as a fairly decently leveled paladin, you know, I'm level 8. I have 40 points of lay on hand, so I have basically 40 free points of healing I can just dish out. So, you know, for the most part, if once per long rest. So
I love when people do shit like this.
What's up?
Sorry. So, in this boss battle that we're in right now, we really can't do damage to the boss. We have to basically use these Magitech loaders to shoot missiles at the boss. But someone still has to take aggro. So if you look on my screen, we missed it. Zenera Jab there was attacked, but since they can't really do damage to it, they were just using an emote to basically do the, what would I call the move? Basically, you know when the pods are, like, calling the car and they have the lights above their head and they're just, like, motioning forward? They just kept motioning forward to the fucking, boss, like, come over here. It was kind of great.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, like, so now we've kind of evolved a different system of, like, well, our Barbarian, played by Dallas, who is also multi-classed into Cleric. By the way, he's multi-classed into Arcane Cleric, so he's a Zealot Barbarian Arcane Cleric, so he has a freakishly huge wealth of spells to pick from. Because D&D is dumb but, like, he is usually, me and him usually split, curative / buff abilities between us. Because as a paladin, you don't get a lot of spells, and for some reason, whenever there's an unearthed arcana that comes out, you don't really see a lot of stuff added to the Yonder Paladin spell list. I'm a little upset. You should, if you got, dear Wizards of the Coast, if you don't want paladins to just use the smite button, you should actually give us spells that are worth using. Anyway. You should also let us ritual cast. It's really annoying that I have to spend a spell slot, which is a smite, to do something dumb like ceremony. Please help me out here. Well, yeah, no, Dallas casts Warhammer. He has great weapon mastery even. But yeah, no. Dallas, if you don't know, is one of our mods. He's appears in the progression tournament where he is usually freakishly unlucky. He's on a long-running losing streak right now. I believe he is counted, and he has gone the most weeks without a win period of us currently. So, in D&D, he's not that. He rolled, I think, the best for stats after having a reroll because his stats were too awful. So he re-rolled them the second time, and he's phenomenally good. And every time he rolls his hit die for HP, he rolls very, very well. Like, as a paladin, I have a D10 hit die. I did get a Constitution bump from a feat at level 4, so I'm not awful. I'm in the 70s right now. We're level 8. I am better than all of our casters. You know, we've got a Bard, a Sork, and our Artificer. Finally was able to rejoin us after he finished his finals. So, we've got a lot of squishy caster boys. Artificers, by the way, very interesting class in that they're a half caster like Paladin, and depending on what build you are, they have different things. He's playing the Steel Guardian Artificer, so he is a Pets class Artificer. He has a robot dog that is freakishly competent. Shout out to D-Dog. We always call him D-Dog. But, like, Dallas rolls freakishly well on his HPs, so we're level 8. He's already got 3 digits of HP. Jeez. Which means he gets to run out in front and take a lot of hits for us, especially because as a Barbarian who rages, you often get damage resistances. And now our Axe really didn't know what the hell he was doing as his Bard. No offense to him. Like, Bards are a weird class in 5e. They can do a lot of different stuff, so he didn't really figure out what he was doing with his character until, I think, the last couple of months. Now his Bard has firmly fallen into also playing a Pets, basically a Summoner, with Summon Face Spirit, who is canonically referred to as Blinky because... Okay, I'll admit it. I think it's mostly my fault. Whenever Vesper, our DM, goes, oh shit, I need a token for this, I'm that guy in our Discord chat posting random transparencies. So I posted a Pac-Man ghost because we talked about how it's a face spirit. So now he is officially Blinky. He is the red ghost when he appears in Roll20. I accept some of a mea culpa, but you know, it's how it works.
It be how it be.
So like that's usually Axe's move as the Bard is to summon a face spirit and then pass out inspiration dice like candy because he's a high enough level that he's giving us D8s. D8s are the best, by the way. That's canon. D8s are the best. And also occasionally give enemies negative D8s on saving throws and stuff, which makes it easier for us. But our Sork Rogue, played by Robin, is a Divine Soul Sorcerer, which means that also a catfolk, by the way. She has access to also some healing cleric spells as well. I do believe Robin said that for his character Karina, he gave up on her having cure wounds as well. Because, you know, when you've got a cleric and a paladin in the party, and they're both elves, so they can get back after 4 hours, they just take a 4-hour nap and they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Elves are bullshit, by the way. D&D's really... one thing I've noticed is that D&D's really weird about, like, their sacred cows versus actually trying to balance their action economy. If you wanted to play D&D optimally, you should all be elves who cannot be put to sleep and only need to long rest for 4 hours. You will get so much more done with your lives. Yeah, she's our main deeps, and her primary thing is casting shit like Lightning Bolt and Ice Shard or Ice Knife and whatever, and then transmuting the damage into whatever the hell Robin feels like. So we do some interesting team comps. That is one thing I think that a lot of people joke about various levels of D&D being more MMO-like, but I think that's something that you just learn from game design. Like, just because it's virtual or not virtual. You know, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how dare you? Being an elf is cool. You get free perception, and you don't need to fucking sleep. Sleeping's for squares. We have I don't know if I've brought this up before, but in our D&D campaign, we have a long-running joke that humans are actually fake news. Humans don't exist.
What? Because
most of the major characters we've met who appear human are not actually humans. Axe's character, for instance, first appeared as a perfectly normal human bard named Gabriel. He is actually a kitsune, a foxfolk called Naki, most of the time. It's like a double personality thing. We were very briefly joined by a Bladesinger wizard who was actually a shifter, so he wasn't a human at all either. And then the rest of the party has always been some flavor of elf. I'm a dark elf. Dallas is an Eladrin. Our artificer party member is a high elf, and then the catfolk Sork I mentioned earlier, and catfolk are technically Fae related. So like, we the elves just have a long running thing that just like humans are fake. We had to fight some Slod, some extra dimensional toad folk, who were pretending to be humans and elves and stuff, and then they turned into horrible toad monsters, and we're like, humans are fake. Humans aren't real. It's bullshit. It's a conspiracy. Though, obviously, a lot of people in playing D&D will probably tell you to optimize, you have to play variant human, because that gives you a free feat. You know what I've learned? Don't do that. Just give everybody a free feat. Give everybody a free feat at level 1. The way they restrict feats in 5e is dumb. There's too few feats, and feats are too important.
Yeah, that's...
Plus, if you do it at level 1, you can do like I did, and you can actually take your frickin' racial feats, which are usually pretty cool. Like, I have access to Drow High magic, so not only do I get the normal shit like Dancing Lights and Darkness for being a Dark Elf, I can also cast Detect Magic at will, which being a Paladin is hilarious. And then I have a once per day Dispel Magic as well, which has come in handy a lot. Especially because, as a Paladin, I don't get access to 3rd level spells until next level. God, being a half-caster sucks. It takes you forever to get your fun shit. But yeah, that's been my D&D bit. Though, actually, I don't know. Lucky, if you're okay rolling with a little more table talk, I have some other interesting things about D&D to talk about.
Go for it.
Not necessarily directed to our campaign, but I don't believe it's officially out yet, but some outlets have been sent an early copy of the new sourcebook for D&D.
Oh.
Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, so it's a Ravenloft setting book. And I've been watching some videos talking about the sections, and I'm not really a big like I only got into 5e for real like in the last year when I joined a 5e campaign, obviously.
Obviously.
And I've tracked some of the books. Like within the past year, they released Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which had a shitload of new rules, new subclasses, extra race rules, and stuff. In general, very good book because it expanded on a lot of stuff, but it didn't necessarily have a lot of superlative flavor. But it was pretty cool. I think it was also the official release of the Artificer, which had been Unearthed Arcana, what they call basically their open beta forever.
Mm-hmm.
But that, like, obviously those kinds of source books are good and well received. But this is the first time I think I've seen one of their setting type books come out, and it's actually like really interestingly well written. It seems like. I don't know much about the actual Ravenloft like lore and stuff. I haven't seen any breakdowns of that. That seems very setting specific, and I don't know if I would run a specifically Ravenloft campaign or anything. But they do some interesting stuff. They've added a couple of new subclasses. You can play an Undead Pact Warlock, which is basically the Undying Pact Warlock from the core book, but good. This is an interesting thing that I've noticed that Wizards has taken with D&D 5e. They don't really like to, like, just errata or fix classes. Like, they don't just reprint the core book, but with a better version of, say, like, Ranger or whatever. Mm-hmm. They instead either release stuff as UA or reprint it in new books as just like, this is a newer version of that. Like, it's very interesting. I guess it's because, I don't know, maybe some DMs will have either made the old version work or, like, they appreciate the lower power scale or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're trying to avoid the idea that, like, oh, well, we errata the core book and reprinted it. Now you have to buy a whole nother book kind of appearance. I don't know. But the Undead Pact Warlock is very much the Undying Warlock from the core, from the player's handbook, only way better. Like, you get the same features earlier, and you have a lot more interesting theme and stuff. And then they also released College of Spirits Bard, which is super rad, and I absolutely want to play one. They are bards that focus on telling stories of folklore and history, and they get access to, like, weird random things with their bardic inspiration by telling different stories, and they get access to, like, occult focuses. Like, instead of doing a musical instrument, you can use your bardic focus item as, like, oh, I don't know, a spirit board, a tarot deck, a human skull, you know, just occult shit. It seems super cool. Really up my alley.
Sounds very baller.
They added some new backgrounds and stuff. But also what I want to shout out is I was actually quite shocked when I saw somebody read through these sections, but in this book, in the Ravenloft book, they have a section about running horror genres.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and my first thought, which a lot of people at home may have as their first thought, is you say horror genre in D&D, and I'm like, this will never work. And I do agree that some of the genres of horror they highlight are an anathema to the typical D&D playstyle. I'm not going to say that you can't model them with D&D, but some of the things you do so to do this modeling goes against a lot of players' core assumptions about the game and may be troublesome. That said, one of those sections is cosmic horror. And shout out to D&D for writing a succinct and on-point summary of the genre and talking about avoiding its pitfalls better than most actual Cthulhu Mythos RPGs have in many years. Actually explaining it in a way that makes sense to D&D, hitting all the core tropes. It's about, you know, kind of like feeling disconnected with reality, powerful forces beyond your ken kind of stuff. You know, dealing with things beyond good and evil, chaos and order and stuff. And without the need to flog HPL's corpse. Which is a trend I've noticed from a lot of modern explicitly Mythos RPGs, where they make sure they have to explicitly spell out, H.P. Lovecraft was super racist, am I right? Anyway, please buy my book. Which I've always found a little icky, a little gross, that we can be like, man, that guy sucked a lot. Anyway, here's all of his ideas repackaged to you in a form where you give me money, and not him because he's dead and this is public domain. Like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. H.P. Lovecraft, many of his thoughts and opinions in a lot of his early stories and letters were hilariously offensive even for the time. So I don't want to, like, seem like I'm an apologist or anything. Like, I'm not saying, oh, H.P. Lovecraft actually wasn't that racist. No. He was. But also, he died very young, and he never really got an opportunity to advance his own, like, thoughts and feelings, to grow as a person. He was also born in a time where the ability to summon bind a therapy couch didn't exist, really. And that's really what the poor man needed. He really needed the therapy couch. A lot of people write it off as just, like, casual racism in the modern sense. No, you guys don't understand. H.P. Lovecraft was completely, freakishly xenophobic and, like, horrified of unknown things. He had existential crisis over new discoveries in science and mathematics. I think there's actually a line in some of his old stories about like not having a constitution for math, right? Which I want to say, I've never really been a huge fan of math as a branch of study, and I'm not very good at it, but I don't swoon when I have to deal with a difficult math problem. I just look at trig and go, yeah, don't remember that. That's not helpful.
Not my life.
Seriously, who uses trig? But this is definitely a trend I've noticed with some modern Cthulhu Mythos RPGs where they feel the need to, like, deeply shame H.P. Lovecraft and talk about how they're gonna, like, take the mythos back or whatever. Please give me money. And D&D, without name-checking H.P. Lovecraft, was able to package a caution against negative interpretations of mental illness and marginalized groups, while also sticking to the themes. And while I don't agree that necessarily cosmic horror is a good genre for D&D, they certainly do a step in the right direction. And a lot of their other deep dives on the horror genres are actually, like, really good. Like, they talk about, like, body horror, folk horror, dark fantasy, of course, popular buzzword since the year... When did Dark Souls come out?
Mid-2000s?
Yeah, that one. It's not a literal question on when Dark Souls came out, but that's the joke. It's been popular since... When did that happen?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And even some other stuff. And I was actually quite shocked that, no, it looks like the Wizards writers actually did a really good job researching these genres, approaching them in a way that makes sense, providing you with the best tool for all DMs and players, the tools to inspire you to do your own work without fully doing the work for you, you know, not locking you into, you can only use these creatures or this type of plot, while still offering inspiration. And it was cool. They've also got some other cool mechanics. They came up with a system called Dark Gifts, which I really like. It's basically like you can get a dark gift like through plot stuff. You know, maybe it happens when you're approached by a dark power when you actually like die for real, or you're exposed to a magical experiment or something. And they've got these little dark gifts that give you inspiration, and so they give you some bonus traits, right?
Right.
Like, one of them is, like, you're haunted by spirits, so the bonus trait you get is you can, like, always cast Message, the cantrip, because you have spirits to relay messages for you, and they can help you out with, like, certain knowledge skills and stuff. But also there's a downside. If you roll a natural 1 on a die when you're doing something, a potentially bad or sometimes even helpful thing happens as your weird flaw overtakes you, and I'm like, this is really good. This is a really good way of writing this, where, like, it's mostly a role-playing prompt with limited mechanical downsides. Like, yes, for instance, say if you're possessed by spirits and you roll the nat 1, you roll on a table, the result you get could be, you're deafened mechanically because the spirits are yelling at you right now. But some of them are just like, you have weird flashback moments. And they have a lot of really good fluff writing. Like, one of them I think was like it's called like multiple soul or soul connection or something. Mm-hmm. Basically, your spirit is connected to another person. One of the potential origins for that is you're actually connected to your past or future self because you've become unstuck in time, and I'm like, that's fucking rad. Shit like that is cool. So shout out to the writers of VENTUPE Guide for Ravenloft. It seems like they've done a good job.
Neat.
All right. Well, let's cycle back around to video games. I think that's a big thing for us.
Yeah.
There's been some decent news over the past couple of weeks or days, I think, about E3, which we haven't really mentioned.
No.
I think they've locked in a lot of the people they're having for it. Sony is still standing tall. They're not going. I do believe EA is also still skipping. I think Sony is planning to have a big PlayStation event in July, last I heard.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I'm almost certain that some Sony properties or Sony exclusives will be represented because Square is going to be at E3.
Yep.
So if there's not another... It's been about a year, I think. So if there's not another, like, 16 trailer, I would be shocked.
Yeah, we're probably start getting our big news on what's coming out for the PS5.
Yes.
Soon.
Yeah. It does seem like we're starting to get into killer app territory. A lot of people are very excited about Returnal. Seems like it's doing pretty good, though. Housemarque is still struggling with that auto-saving kind of feature. I do know that Sony has announced that, unfortunately, Actually, no, that definitely not happening, Devilish. You know why? Because the thing I was about to bring up was that Sony has brought up the fact that they expect PS5 shortages to continue until 2022. They've said that they expect not to solve their inventory problem for at least the rest of this year, which is a shame, but very expected. I think. I know there's been talk about maybe redesigning the internals to like get around the semiconductor shortage, but I expect if they've done that announcement where they're like, we're pretty sure stock won't come back until 22, that probably means that they have not really found a solution that works and they're just going to wait it out. Mm-hmm. They have announced some new controllers. There's, I believe, a red and a blue one that look pretty sick.
Yep. I'm fine with the one I got.
Now, the white's good. I might be interested in that red, but new controllers are also always really expensive.
Yeah.
I find it hard to justify buying a controller just for the sake of vanity. Like, they're sick, but when you get one, it's Oh yeah, that's right. One of our community members, one of our patrons with us right now, Legendary, has finally got his PS5 ordered, and I believe he also got a stealth delivery from Sony. They just teleported it to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're out there. People are doing the drops. From what I understand, I believe going directly through Sony is still the most reliable.
Yeah. I was, like I said, I was a regular, and I got mine through Walmart. But they do say that the direct ones are the best way to go.
Yes.
But like I said, it was like, again, Devil's just, Devil's just talking about,
Best Buy.
Yeah. They're just fair, but like I said, they're out there, they exist. Just gotta... Gotta get through it. But, yeah. I don't think I necessarily have any PS5 news myself. Like I said, I'm still slowly working my way through Nier. Oh, that's more in gacha games, I suppose. Do we have any other like video game stuff to talk about?
I got a couple of things to mention, maybe. I'm just looking at the list of people who've paired with E3. I don't know how much of it will be super crazy. I mean, like Xbox is on there, obviously Nintendo. They'll probably have some stuff to show. There's a lot of like your middle tier developers. Capcom's gonna have something. Sega, Square Enix, Bandai Namco, Gearbox. I am slightly interested to see that Marvelous Exceed has something. They do a lot of dev and import for a lot of things we are familiar with, so we'll keep an eye out on that. But yeah, the only other thing I got is, well, in general, I mean, I can talk a little about Naruto Ninja Storm, but that might be a whole thing, so we can pivot to where you want to go. The other thing I want to mention is that for most people, Mass Effect Legendary has come out. Mm-hmm. My pre-order has been delayed slightly. Maybe they ran out of inventory. But I'm okay with that because I have other shit to work through. But general consensus is it goo.
It goo.
It looks good, runs good, and they have actually tightened up the gameplay a little bit. People aren't having problems, so that's cool. That's what I wanted.
Also, yes, John, I am spamming MSQ Roulette because Moogle Tomes are out, and that's there's some good shit in there. So my other options for the most is either to do MSQ or to do fucking high-tier raids, which I don't want to... I mean, high-tier alliance raids, which I don't want to do, because there's a lot of stupid people. And there's a lot of stupid people in there. And with MSQ, I can literally autopilot. I can autopilot so hard. They're so weak. It's just that I have to sit through like 15 minutes of cutscenes every single fucking time I do this.
Rip.
See, I just got out of a cutscene and I'm already back into another one.
Back-to-back cutscene.
This cutscene,
but,
this thing cannot be skipped.
You were saying something?
Yeah. So, as I was saying, if Omega didn't flub something by accident. I feel like this is one of those things that Axe should maybe just not have said, but I don't know. So, for me, I've been slowly working through Nier Replicant. Like I said, I'm taking my time. I know that there is nothing but pain and devastation awaiting me, so I'm just like, I'm in no hurry. I'm in literal no hurry.
Yep.
But what this does mean, though, is like I said, I'm moving that fast, which means other things have a chance to percolate. So we're gonna switch over to Gacha here a little bit, and it has come out that Nier Reincarnation is available for pre-reg right now. This is the Gacha game, which takes place in the Nier universe. Does not have any, from what I understand, does not have any direct connection to Nier, but you know, it shares you know, themes. And if it's sharing themes, there's probably also going to be fucking depression in this game. So I'm excited about that. I've already pre-regged. Oh, I'm stunned.
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 The worst.
And I highly recommend everyone else does. Speaking of things that people are hype about, the new Toho Gacha game came out. People have been fairly excited about that. I have not got into it. I don't have time for it. I really don't. Jesus. It's like, I had enough trouble just reminding myself to log into Arknights just so I can get a free roll so I can try and get Mudrock. By the way, I did not get a Mudrock. I got a second of Rotisserie. Her name's Rotisserie now. I don't fucking know her name is. What was it?
Rotisserie chicken.
Romantis?
I didn't care about that one.
Oh no, I have two rotisseries now. I have two rotisserie chickens. It was the worst too, because the day that I got her, I was looking at my phone and was all like, man, I really hope I get Mudrock today. And then I thought to myself, it really suck if I just got another one of the limited one. Guess what? That was like, yep. I hit the button, boom, another limited one. I'm just like, why?
I don't know. Remember if I mentioned it on What's Up before? You know, maybe you should watch them, audience. Go back and watch them more. The views aren't super great. You should watch them. But I believe I did say, I've mentioned before, I do in fact have a Mudrock. I haven't opened Arknights again since I rolled it.
Oh, you did get a Mudrock. Yeah, I don't recall you saying that. I think I would have been mad.
Okay, then maybe I didn't say it on What's Up. I've definitely said it aloud to people.
Probably, yeah.
We're also getting an alert not to stream Toho. Not that I think either of us are interested in that. But apparently it's got a lot of the copyrighted music.
Yeah, it tracks.
Which is a terrible shame. Oh, that reminds me. I have a very brief aside, funny story about copyright.
I'm listening.
So I don't know if you would have even noticed, because I get the emails about this directly, me personally, because just the way YouTube is with stuff. And you probably weren't looking exactly at the dashboard that day, but I think it was early this week, or was it early last week, and I just didn't mention it last weekend. I don't remember, but I think it may have been early last week. One of your old RE4 streams got blocked.
For what?
By a music claim by a company that does public TV in Thailand, Thai TV, and I was like, what? So I just filled out the fair use form, and I was like, hey, so this is a gameplay that's like transformative and everything, and I also stuck a snarky note at the end, and I was like, also, this is a Resident Evil stream by Capcom. I don't know what this has to do with TV in Thailand, with TV Thailand. Thanks, bye. And they just straight up released it like a day later. So I assume whoever in their legal department looked at that, they were like, yes, okay, well. I'm gonna guess that there was probably some kind of feature that got uploaded, and that because they're a big boy corporation, they automatically do the copyright whatever system. Mm-hmm. Much like how we constantly run into problems with our old FGO streams about NPs, right? Where when we know an event using a servant with an NP is going to come out, we often get content ID'd for their NP footage in stream. I assume that like this was right around when Resident Evil 8 came out. Maybe they were doing like a story that aired on TV about it or something. Or something. Maybe they reused the fucking music. God, I don't know what it could have been, but it was just a brief thing, and clearly they caught it was like, yes, this is not our copyright claim to pursue, and just dropped it. And I was just like, that's funny. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. I've been talking in chat. I'm like, I mentioned that we started as big healers, and then we all kind of spread out, and I'm fairly certain that our Divine Soul Sork doesn't have Cure Wounds anymore, and I know you used to have Healing Wounds, but never had to use it and eventually dropped it because it just wasn't necessary for your build. Okay, you do still have Cure Wounds. That is a question I asked. I'm like, I don't know if Axe has Cure Wounds or not. I think I said I think you did, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember anymore. It's weird. Like I said, because we've got a cleric and a paladin in the party, we can just take that 4-hour nap and, you know, elves are OP and get that Cure Wounds back. I also, do artificers get Cure Wounds?
I would assume...
Artificers get some healing spells. They're very weird, so...
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Oh, he's hanging on something. He's hanging on. Is he going to still punch this giant robotman while he's hanging on? Kind of looks like it. But yeah, we're a very Healy bot party. It's very funny that way. We'll have to see how that, shakes out as we go on. Being a D&D paladin is you don't get a lot of direct damage spells. You get some smite spells, and then you get your regular ass smites, which basically smite spells are basically, hey, do you want to do smite damage that's not just radiant, or maybe do a debuff sword attack? That's cool.
All right, I'm back.
All right, he's back.
Yeah, sorry, it's just someone came in to talk to me real quick, and I was just all like, oh, we don't need to hear consultation about sweaty balls. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. I did speculate to the audience whether or not you would continue fighting a giant robotman while you were away, and you did.
Yeah, if I just like quickly turn off like my microcog, it's just because someone's trying to talk to me. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
People will never understand that I might be doing something.
Okay, so we talked about the gotcha thing.
Yep.
That was what we were in the middle of. You talked about Automata.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like. And as for other games, other gotcha games, I really don't have anything to say. Like,
no, I believe I ended our last conversation about that before we got off on the copyright thing. Was by mentioning how I have not opened Arknight since I rolled Mudrock.
Yeah, I guess I'm still playing Destiny Child. It's still horny on main.
Still no news about that alleged Last Origin release.
Yep.
That rumor I've still heard, but is not clear.
So, yeah, that.
Arriving which Tuesday, Amazon? This Tuesday?
What Tuesday?
I'm just trying to double check on my order for Mass Effect, and it's like arriving Tuesday. I guess it's next Tuesday because I think in the email they told me it would be the 18th, but I'm like, Amazon, your order information just says arriving Tuesday. What Tuesday? You must tell me.
I finally made it to payday, so I can talk about something I bought. So I bought more books. I finally bought the first volume of the light novel 86, which is currently airing on Crunchyroll. I had to remember there for a second.
We talked about that last week.
Yep. Also, I ordered both of the Nier Automata novels, long story short and short story long.
Heh.
Yeah, no, they're good. Well, actually, only actually, which one was that? Only long story short has come in so far. The other one will be here Monday. And I picked up the Elder Sister-like one, Volume 4, by my beloved Pochi. And that has arrived. Like, he has to be a lot more careful about budgeting what he wants to buy and whatnot, but I am still on track to get as much Nier / Automata things I can get. Like I said,
swag.
Yep, I got it. I'm gonna build that swag. Yo. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I mentioned this on Let's Talk, but I pre-ordered Takuchi's art book, fucking 15 Years of Fate and all that shit. And I'm actually kind of like wondering if I actually want to like particularly like get anything else pre-order, because there's a lot of games that are coming out in the summertime that I'm probably gonna want. Like we have Emiya Gohan coming out. We got Tales of Arise coming out. I'm excited about that one. You don't have to be excited about that one, Omega. I'll be excited about that one.
That is correct. Omega has never played a Tales game. I'm sure they're very cool, but I am only made of limited time stuff.
I'm still like very interested in that. Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. That Spirit game for the PS4. It was like 4. Was it 4? No, it was I can't remember the name.
Ridge of Spirits. I have a hard time like. That's a game I remember that I have a hard time doing because talking about because Amazon like won't put it even though it's sooner than some games Amazon will let me pre-order. Amazon wouldn't let me put it like on a wish list.
Yeah.
Yet.
So
Y'all know the game.
Yeah, so like I said, like I have to be a lot more conscientious with my money now. So I'm just like, ah.
Yeah, it's Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Bridge
it
of
still
Spirits.
has no Amazon fucking listing.
How dare.
I'm very upset. I want to put it on a wish list so I don't forget it because of what just happened just now, where we forgot it. Kind of.
Kind of. I know it exists. I just can't remember what it's called. And like I said, I'm still fairly certain that I want to get Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I'm just like,
Not sure when.
Yeah. It's like same with Returnal. Like Returnal is like,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not against Returnal. It seems okay and fun, but like I said, it's not something that I like. I'm not SpongeBob screaming I need it right now.
Nah, we can wait for that. We can wait that one out.
And of course, and who knows what else will be coming out that just has slipped my mind. So yeah, Lucky's gonna try and avoid buying every game and just buy the games that he actually genuinely wants.
We also will probably have to buy at least the you got to buy the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Intergrade.
Yep.
Deathloop will eventually come out. We're all fine. Oh yeah, that's right. Black for Blood's coming out in October. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stream that.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
There's that cat game.
Oh yeah.
There's that Ghostwire Tokyo game coming out in October. So that one's been through some weird stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's gone through a little bit of development hell, so I don't know.
Oh, that Sifu game is supposed to be coming out this year? Neat. That was the martial arts game we saw in the showcase, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's gonna be cool.
Every time
and Horizon's supposed to come out this year. I assume holiday this year probably, but it's supposed to come out in 2021.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be pushed back.
It could be pushed back. Oh, God of War is also supposed to come out. Yeah, no fucking way they're ready to release. Both
like honestly,
those.
like they came out, they announced these last year, and they didn't actually have much in the way of actual footage to show people. They're probably still like they're nowhere near done. There's no possible way.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Far Cry 6 is supposed to come out this year, but we'll see about that.
I like Far Cry, but I don't know like.
It really depends on the Far Cry. I had a lot of fun with Far Cry 4. That was a very interesting game, but then they like ran that engine to the ground, and I never got around to playing 5.
5 was okay. 5 was fun. I liked 5, but I didn't really get far in 5. I did like
Far Cry is a weird game. You know?
Because I enjoy fucking, running around shooting people, looting stuff, crafting stuff to, shoot better and stuff. But at the same time, I'm just like, what is this? Like, what am I actually, like, it doesn't necessarily feel hot and fresh.
Far Cry has the Far Cry series, from what I've seen and what I've played, has a slight problem of it's a classic Ubisoft sandbox game. It has all the dumb Ubisoft sandbox things. You got to climb towers. You got to do the blah blah blah, all that stuff. Liberate provinces.
Fun fact: they invert that in Far Cry 5. You only have to climb one tower, and they specifically say, "Oh yeah, no, we just need you to do this once. You're not gonna have to ever climb another tower."
Yeah, but like in general, it's still, even if you don't actually climb the towers, right? It still has that aspect of like, here is your big world map with all these little thingies.
Yeah.
Which
to say I enjoy whipping around doing stuff, but honestly, that's one of those beating to death game genres,
though, right?
Yeah. And like I said, like first person and third person open world sandboxes where you do a bunch of shooting is very, very common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's a genre we rotate through. Like, when that game percolates to the top, there's a lot of clones, much like how there was a lot of freaking crafting survival sandbox games after... well, first of all, because Minecraft got really popular, but then there were a lot of games that were similar,
Yeah, they just kept... Well, what I say with Minecraft is they kept iterating on the design, and so you actually got, like, a few different genres of the craft or
yeah, you got some subgenres and stuff, but there are a lot of games which are clearly designed in that vein where people are like, oh, I can do this kind of like mix and match crafting thing and survival. Because remember, in case you forgot, Minecraft's default setting is called survival mode.
Yes.
and it is a chance to survive. Those zombies will eat you.
No.
But yeah, it's still kind of became its own genre, and you can see this with a lot of games. Also, these games were similar to Minecraft, and a lot of them were kind of in that indefinite open beta loop, early access.
Yep.
That doesn't remind me. I just added this. I was on Amazon earlier. Just added this to my wish list. The console version of Subnautica Below Zero is out.
Oh.
Hopefully this week we'll go back to Subnautica. I had to take a week off because I had a very busy weekend managing the house by myself and just needed some relaxed time. I did a Jackbox instead. It wasn't without its own funny, weird bits, but we did it. Yep. It hasn't been demonetized, so it's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
There were no problems with any of the speeches and talking points at the end. Also, Lucky, I think we had the saddest blather round experience ever because we had like 4 people.
Oh, really?
And it was just, it was just very hard. I don't know why. I did advertise early in the day and had it scheduled that we were doing Jackbox. I don't know. In the stream you can hear me. I got a little spicy because there was as usual a VC full of like 6 other people, only one of whom was like streaming Hangout, and I'm like, all right, what are y'all doing on a Monday night that you don't want to come hang out with me in our Discord, in our stream with me? But it's fine. We got enough people eventually. Dallas was like late and he showed up because I know he wanted to be in there. But we had a second round of blather round later and we had enough people. But that first round was just like, wow, when only like 3 people can guess and you only have 2 minutes exactly, we're very dumb. It's very bad. The game really works best when you have a full room full of people.
Oh, it was Kamen Rider? Of course it was.
I don't think it was the Kamen Rider Club. There was only like 6 people. This was way after.
Great Card says Kamen Rider happens on Monday.
Well, first of all, he's wrong because Dallas wasn't there, so unless he just skipped you. But he usually provides the streams. Like, this is while Dallas was gone way at night. I don't even know if you guys were alive. No, I think it was the Ruins of Axe's Lancer game because he didn't actually have all his players. And so they were just kind of sitting around not doing anything. And I'm still curious why more of them didn't jump in. We did get Axe in for a couple of games because he wasn't actually busy. But yeah, it was just like a few people hanging around. No, it was in a gaming room, and y'all know that if you're streaming like TV or anime in one of my gaming rooms, you'll know I'll kill you. I'll just kill you. You'll be dead. I'm kidding. Yeah, Axe got it. Also, it was my stream, so it was like 9 o'clock at night. No, it was just like if it was like a dozen people clearly watching Kamen Rider, I have no stones to throw, but it was like 5 or 6 dudes just hanging out doing nothing, and I'm like, why aren't you here though? You could be part of the game with me. But we got, like I said, we got enough people.
Like,
and I'm sure we'll do Jackbox again.
Usually I don't try to involve myself too much in your streams because I can get loud and yelly at people. But like, if you need me to fill a fucking space, you just gotta send me a quick message. Hey, Lucky, you want to play? I'll be like, sure.
Yeah, if I do it again, I'll definitely want to get you in on it because it was 7. So I know you like talking points and blather around.
Yeah.
And we did not play The Devil in Details at all. It's a game that doesn't work on stream.
No.
We did get some champed up. That was very funny. It once again makes me concern the power of people. But we had some funny Quiplash. I won some Quiplash rounds.
Yay!
But yeah, I just didn't have the brain to play Subnautica, and I do believe the upgrade, if Below Zero is officially out for PlayStation consoles, that means the upgrade for the OG one for PS5 is out. So I got to go ahead and do that, and we can see if it looks any prettier this time. Get back to exploring, doing stuff. I'll probably do that Monday. And if we wrap up, we may, because it is out. We may just roll right into Below Zero and stuff.
Yeah, could be fun.
Happens. We'll see what the hap is. Because the other game I'm playing, I will not be streaming. Because Bandai Namco is not good about cutscenes. Them and Capcom, they're not really good about those. But I think I mentioned this maybe earlier today. We've gone for about an hour and a half. Definitely on Let's Talk yesterday. So as I said before, I've been playing Naruto Ninja Storm games. Ninja. I did get my copy of 4, the complete edition with all the extra DLC that arrived the other day. I'm not ready to play it yet. I have beaten the original Ninja Storm.
Yeah.
Full thoughts? The original Ninja Storm? It's kind of meh. It's kind of in the middle. I think it's a decent way of, like, I believe by this point, it may have either Shippuden had started or it was about to start. I assume it probably would have started because, judging from the opening cutscene, Ultimate Ninja Storm 2 it starts in Shippuden. It goes all the way to the Pain arc, which is fairly decently in there. So, yeah. But it's a decent attempt to recap the part 1 of the manga, the first part. Like I said, it skips the Zabuza arc, and it really shouldn't. Now that I've said that, the actual gameplay isn't that long, and they add a lot of nothing fights for no reason. They make you fight Kiyomaru, the bone guy, like 3 times or 4 times, even though that's not how the order of events goes in the manga or anime. I assume it's because they didn't want to make you fight literally 4 one-on-one fights with all the sound for, but they should have just done it. It probably would have been cooler. Instead of making you fight the same guy like the same number of times anyway, with just with different characters. But the game was like really weird. It had a lot of the higher level like optional missions and shit were like, oh, do like super long combos, which the game, I think I mentioned before, it's not really designed to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Like to do a combo longer than whatever your default combo string is, you have to like do like action cancels by like doing dashes in the middle of your combo, and it doesn't always work.
Oh, jeez.
Because when you end a combo normally, if you get all the way to the finisher, you knock your opponent down, and then that means that they're immune to being hit for long enough that your combo string ends. So it's like, yeah, this game's not really designed for that. And it didn't really have a lot of the big flashy QTE stuff that the later games are known for. So I'm kind of like, it's all right. You know, the mandatory world map stuff got kind of samey and annoying. But now I'm playing 2. Ultimate Storm 2. Big improvement. So first of all, the QTE stuff I talked about, that's in finally. So you know, when you're fighting big story bosses, you don't just fight them in plain fights, so there are plenty of those. They actually have like you damage their HP so far, and then it turns into a QTE segment where all the, you know, crazy big action stuff happens. They've got not a single world map of the Leaf Village, but like an extensive world map you wander around. It's not open world, it's more like set screens where you can meet people. You can still do, you know, bonus missions and stuff for bonus content, and you gotta like walk around between the story beats. But it's a lot cleaner. The gameplay mechanics have improved a lot and are a little more plainly understood, and in general I'm like, no, this is good. This is a good improvement. This is a good sequel. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
So I'm excited to work my way through those, see how those go. I think I also mentioned this on Let's Talk for Sure. Sorry, I got distracted. I tabbed back over to my thing. I was looking at the list of upcoming PS5 games, and it was like, oh, unfortunately, Callisto Protocol's not going to come out until 2022. That's okay, though. I can wait.
That's the one by Dead Space guys, right?
Yeah, that's the Dead Space one. That's the Dead Space guys one. Callisto
okay, so
Protocol.
actually, quick tangent. So we did get a little scooped on Let's Talk FGO yesterday because
a little bit, because we talked about the poster live when it got posted.
Yeah, but they did come out with an actual preview for Time Tip with Solomon, and I mentioned this like when I saw it. Whatever that Mystic Code is he has going on, that thing gives me some Dead Space vibes. Just with that.
Yes, it's got a little bit of like an industrial spacesuit look, and it has the fucking glowing spinal cord thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's like on the spine, but it's definitely on the back somewhere. And I'm just all.
I mean, it looks like it lines up with the center of his back. I don't think I've seen a turnaround for the art yet.
No, but seeing that, I'm just like, you know, it kind of makes sense. You're going to the fucking time zone. There's going to be a lot of squishy things there. But
yeah, got to do a lot of punching. No. But it looks pretty rad. They did the thing. They did the thing we always talk about. they fade to black, and then Jean starts talking.
Yeah, I know it's going to be good. I've watched that trailer several times.
Yes, it's a good trailer. I believe they've clarified that it's meant to be, I think it's, with the trailer, it's meant to be a movie.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
It's still a little unclear, but that's okay. We've been debating, I believe, in the back and forth whether or not you need Temple of Time as like a single like movie or an OVA or like a full core of anime. I think a movie will be fine.
I think a movie will be fine. I'm just curious to see if, like they said, I'm just curious to see like how it's actually going to get released, like if they're going to do
theatrical, streaming, etc.
Yeah.
Because Babylonia obviously was on TV and streaming services.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Callisto Protocol, I'm excited. I'm a little excited about, and so I'm a little sad to. Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, we're gonna be doing the stage program of the second day of the Digital Fan Fest. I like how they actually are announcing this in game as well.
Oh yeah, they gotta let you know. That's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's perfect.
But
Ooh, actually, I just realized something. Lucky
what?
I was scrolling around. So 16 doesn't have a release window at all.
Oh, yeah.
So
no,
I'm gonna guess at E3 because that's in June. Square Enix is gonna be there. They're gonna have a new trailer with probably at least a year, if not a hard date. I'm also gonna say that since they didn't announce the date already, it's not gonna be 2021, guys. They could shock us. I don't think so, especially not because Endwalker doesn't come out for a few months, right?
Yeah. Yoshi P is heading that up. Actually, he's
it's like the old it's like Kingdom Hearts and the Final Fantasy VII remake and Nomura. Like, no, that dude's busy. He's doing something.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that Yoshi P is pulling double duty. So I can see maybe end of 2021, but that's probably the earliest. Holiday 2021 is probably the earliest.
I'm gonna assume they're gonna do probably like summer 22, if not later. Like, because God knows where it is.
But actually, you know, fuck, I'm gonna go do some chocobo racing. Fuck everything. It's time to race birds. But
I also like how this list is very generous and still lists both the Bethesda games they announced like 5 million years ago, even though they're technically owned by Xbox now, and we have no idea whether or not they will be exclusive or not. I know that the head of Xbox said that they don't need exclusives, but
they say they said that, but I'm pretty sure they just announced today that Star Citizen is going to be exclusively Xbox and PC. I'm pretty sure.
Well, is Star Citizen ever going to actually fucking come out? Who knows?
I guess that's true too.
Oh, that's right. BioWare is working on shit other than the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. That's right. We know that DA4 is coming, obviously, and they did tease a new Mass Effect. That's right. Quote-unquote Mass Effect 5. That reminds me, I think Andromeda's cheap. After I beat all the Legendary, I think I'll sit down and finally play it for myself after it's been out for a few years. I never got around to it.
Like,
lucky I know you had a positive experience with it.
Yeah, no, it's not the worst game. I think people's expectations of it were just way too high.
People were like, "Oh shit, next gen Mass Effect," and it was like, "Oh, it's next gen Mass Effect." Well, like, the thing is, when you set expectations and then your expectations are completely met, often people are semi-unsatisfied, and it was okay. I do believe there was also famously it did have some glitches right out the gate because BioWare's not been the best about organizing their projects for the last couple of years.
No.
From the sound of the fact that Legendary Edition seems pretty clean and well made, hopefully they've got that under control now.
I guess I think they've gone under a restructuring like 3 times though.
Yes.
Like,
and they did have to. I'm fairly certain for these projects to exist, they had to kill Anthem. Like,
no, yeah, they did.
Anthem's gonna die. Like, EA did the review and they're like, nah, we're not gonna. BioWare gave them the pitch for a revamp and they were like, nah, it's not worth it. Which is always a shame when an ambitious project like that, you know, can't go through the revamp. It can't do like what Final Fantasy XIV did with Realm Reborn. But you know, if the executives look at it and they're like, this isn't worth it, or we don't think you've got a good enough project, you know, they'll skip it. And I will say, unlike Final Fantasy XIV, Anthem didn't really have any built-in branding or IP. It was sold as being a cool BioWare project. It was like, oh, BioWare, we're going to do a Bungie, except we literally never paid attention to what Bungie did with Destiny and learned none of their lessons. But I believe this was a very long article written by Jason Schreier, an actual real journalist about video games. His book is also good. But yeah, no. For some reason, the BioWare devs, the high-level BioWare devs behind Anthem were like, don't pay attention to anything else going on in the industry. And it's just so derp. Why would you do that? Learn lessons from other people's failures.
Yes.
OG Destiny had some missteps. They learned and adjusted. Oh, he's another book out? I should check it out. Is it about more video game titles?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I would expect so. Oh, that's always a fun look. I'll check it out sometime then. But yeah, that'll be interesting with those things coming. I'm very curious. I forgot that Ubisoft has announced they're doing a Star Wars project. Star Wars got let out of EA jail.
I'm excited for that. I'm hoping that more people will just try and do ambitious stuff with it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Lucasfilm and Disney realized they did a dumb thing when they presumably had EA, of all people, pay them a shitload of money to secure an exclusive contract, because EA is like a macro, as a macro company, is not well thought of. Like, some of their sub-studios do good work. BioWare is known generally for classic games.
Yeah.
Especially in the RPG industry, but also they've had some missteps over the recent years. Similarly, you know, like a lot of other good studios have kind of come and gone and been cannibalized. But I think what ultimately happened was with Lucasfilm was they realized that EA was not delivering the higher level quality of product they needed because Star Wars got kind of put in a bad spot with the sequel trilogy. And I don't want to throw, by the way, their entire blame at them. Like, part of the reasons why the story in Battlefront 2 is so weird is because they couldn't freaking tie into The Last Jedi or anything like that because... or like Force Awakens stuff, because none of that stuff was set in stone yet. It's almost like the sequel trilogy was designed and incepted entirely off the cuff because Disney was like, fuck, we bought it, we need to start making money. But yeah, it'll be very interesting, especially if they, especially if Ubisoft plays to themes of stuff that's popular right now, like The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind a fucking real talk. Ubisoft's pretty good at their third-person games. The problem is either they're not the best well thought out, or they're kind of samey.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely would not be against to maybe a third-person action-focused shooter.
Yeah. Get a little bounty hunt action in there, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars is full of fun toys you could make into video game abilities. I mean, that's that's the original bounty hunter game, where you play as Jango Fett. You get the jetpack, you get some fun toys, you get some guns. You do some stuff.
Just don't try to cram in a multiplayer, please.
Yeah, don't cram in multiplayer. Like, I will say this: a lot of games have decent multiplayers added in, but usually those are clearly afterthoughts, and they still obey. They're like completely separate from single player, and they still obey the main gameplay principles. Like, I've talked before about how I lament that ME3 won't come with the multiplayer because as a 4-man co-op v Horde, that worked very well for Mass Effect's core gameplay conceits, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there have been mentions that they are considering putting in multiplayer, but it's not going to be a...
It wasn't a priority. Well, if the game's doing well, I hope it gets added, because like I said, that mode was pretty good. I spent a lot of hours playing that, both with randos and with our buddy Gene back in the day. Because like I said, it's just a 4v environment, you know, PvE Horde mode. Like, you use your abilities to kill waves of enemies. Some of them are tough, some of them are not. They had a lot of fun stuff. They had some weird character concepts, like they added like the N7 character pack, who were like really extreme characters. At one point, they added playable liberated collectors, because the collectors used to be Protheans. Spoilers, and they're like, oh, you can play as these guys now because we had a Prothean companion in Mass Effect 3. He was DLC. That's another thing that's going to be very interesting, because I never played all the DLC for like 2 and 3 because there was just so fucking many. So it'll be really interesting for me to go back and do that. Speaking of me going back and doing things, though, I mentioned this. I started talking about this before we got off. I got distracted myself with video games, and we have many video game things to talk about. We like video games here. Licky's playing a video game right now. He's racing on Chocobo.
I love Chocobo.
I can't hear it because I don't have the stream preview up, so I don't double capture my audio. But I assume that some version of the Chocobo theme is playing right now.
Yep. No, let me. God damn it. Sorry. And they hit me with him. You guys are animals. Alright.
Are you getting Mario Karted right now?
Yeah, no. Someone hit me with a fucking drain and then hit me with a heavy, so I'm just... Rip me.
Just gotta be slow for a little bit.
Yeah.
But another thing that I did related to going back and doing stuff lately was that I think I mentioned this, that the OG Naruto is on Netflix. By the way, Shippuden is not. I believe it's only on Hulu and Crunchyroll. Though several Shippuden-era movies are on Netflix. Licensing is weird, guys.
I really would... Again, this is what people talk about. Like, I know monopolies are bad, but please, can we just put everything in one place? Fuck.
Well, can we... If you have the licensing flexible enough to put it in multiple places, can we just put all of the same stuff that's related in multiple places? Right? Like, okay, I understand, right? Like, if Disney is like, yeah, no, we own Star Wars. We're gonna put all our Star Wars shit on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then there's, like, with MCU stuff, like, oh, no, well, Spider-Man's also made in co-op with Sony because they still technically have those film rights. So, like, I don't think I can watch the latest Spider-Man movie on Disney Plus yet. I don't even know if it's streaming anywhere yet.
I don't think so.
I got to double check. It may only just be, like, rental. I still haven't seen it, by the way. Like, it's...
How now, bitches?
It's very weird. So yeah, the Naruto like streaming situation is like, to me, I'm like, okay, that's fucking bonkers that I could watch all of OG Naruto branded, pre-ship it, and including all the extra filler seasons they added to buy time for the manga, which I skipped, by the way. I didn't do that. If I need to, I could binge all that. I could binge like 4 more extra seasons, but I decided to skip it. And like I said, I think you can watch like all the Shippuden movies, including like Naruto the Last, the last Naruto movie. And I'm like, but I can't watch Shippuden. So I may or may not watch it on Crunchyroll. It's just that I cannot binge as easily as Netflix. Like, I was literally staying up way too late at night watching Naruto episodes on Netflix because it was really easy to do. You just, stream all together. And I do want to shout out Netflix's app handling a few things better than I think some players do. Hey, kids, y'all remember how in OG Naruto they would usually play you the last minute or two of the episode at the start of the new episode?
Yeah, usually it was right before the OP.
Yes. Or sometimes after the OP, depending. Shout out to whatever Netflix intern had to code this system, but Netflix has a little thing called Skip Recap.
Oh, wow.
Which if you start binging, by the way, it does automatically, and it skips you to the end of that repeated bit, and you just watch the new bits. And when it goes to the ending right away, it starts going to the next episode as well. It's an incredibly streamlined system for binging, which is great for anime. But also, I want to throw this out there. If you do actually want to go back and watch the openings, which I did a lot of times because, man, a lot of the old school Naruto OPs are just... They're really good and really nostalgic for me. I have a lot of strong memories about those.
They're classic.
Yeah, a lot of classic stuff. I don't know. If Lucky looked at our YouTube history on certain days, he may have seen me listening to Go by Flow.
Yeah, no, I did.
Over again.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
It's a really good one. I think that's my favorite, but a lot of those are really good. But they also do a thing that Crunchyroll doesn't do. They have subs for the openings.
Ooh.
You can actually understand what people are saying. Now, and I don't want to say that yeah, I know. Somebody just said that anime recaps are not standard. No. Some poor intern had to go in and hard code what time the footage from the previous episode ends for you to auto skip to. So shout out to them. But yeah, I don't want to say the subtitles are perfect. I don't necessarily think that they didn't necessarily. I watched it in Japanese, obviously. I don't think they were necessarily dub titles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if they were supposed to be 1-to-1 because remember they have 2 separate options. They have Japanese with subtitles and English with subtitles, and then just English audio. So I think the Japanese with subs is actually supposed to be a translation. It wasn't literal 1-for-1, but it was still pretty good. They did occasionally have some formatting errors where the subtypist accidentally left in a double space or occasionally dropped a word. But my anime Japanese is good enough that with a partial subtitle, I can usually follow what the fuck everybody is saying.
Yeah, that probably means you're a 1 or 2 in comprehension.
Yeah. I have watched enough anime with subtitles that I understand most verbs about I'll punch you, I'll kill you, let's fight, let's go, I'm going, I'll save you. Various other verb forms. Very good at that. But yeah, no, so the subs aren't perfect, but for somebody who's also already nostalgia binged Naruto and also watched a lot of it as a kid, no, I perfectly understand what the fuck is going on. So it was an interesting ride. It reminded me there were a lot of very unique and time capsule things about old Naruto.
Mm-hmm.
Like the recap style, we're gonna, because this is supposed to be weekly, we're gonna play you back the last bit of the previous episode because we always end on a dramatic cliffhanger, just like a manga chapter, Also, the fact that it's still in 4:3, still in 4:3 and probably 480p.
Oh, God.
There is no HD remaster.
Oh my God, Alex did.
What's up?
Alex Mokala, the composer who's big fan of video games, has already put out a funky track to fucking Soken's Lahi.
Nice.
It's
people go check that out.
It's
But yeah, so that's a really interesting experience of oh man, this is just how it was back in the days.
Oh wow,
watching anime in 4:3.
And Aaron Hansen commented too.
Of course he did. He's the video game boy.
He is the video game boy.
You can just post the link here.
Yeah, I will.
It's relevant to the patron chat. You can also link it in... Hold on. Gotta scroll. In Now that's what I call 24/7 lo-fi, hi-fi, chill beats to bop to.
I should have changed that. I should have changed that when I was on the warpath. I should have.
You should have, but you missed your shot.
I missed my shot.
And now it's here for a while.
Yep, I gotta wait till the next time I put on my fucking community manager hat.
The other thing that's, speaking of music, though, that's another thing that's really interesting about the way old school Naruto is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has a very distinctive sound.
Oh, yeah.
Now, most anime have distinctive VFX. Shout out to the Foley department. Naruto has some very iconic noise, the tack of the ninja sandals. Everybody knows the, like, Naruto jumping noise, that kind of swoosh. Shadow clones also have a very distinct sound, both when being summoned and when being unsummoned.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job with the very distinct SFX, which I should look that up. I really wonder what Foley they did for Chidori. Like, did they actually record birds? Did they get, like, some, like, violin or piano wires and, like, rustle it? Stuff like that. But actually, I want to talk about the OST, because
I fucking love the OST.
Naruto has a very iconic sound.
Yeah, I do.
Because it mixes early 2000s kind of, like, butt rock guitars, like, heavy use of the electronic guitar. And there's a little bit of synthesizer in there, but not a lot. There's some iconic ones that do a little bit. But mostly it's strong guitars and then traditional Japanese instruments. There's a lot of taika drums. There's a lot of...
I'm just thinking about it. Like, yeah.
A lot of shamisen. A lot of classic shakuhachi flute. Mixed in with guys doing the traditional, like, Japanese style chanting. Like, it's a very distinct style. And, yeah.
I'm just...
Most people
I'm
probably know the memes. Like, yeah, it's a very distinct sound.
Like, I haven't watched Naruto in an age, and I can still just...
you know it. You know the beats. Music is like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strong link to your memories with audio. I think I've heard that, actually. Like, the way your sense memory works is, like, smells and audio can really trigger your memory in certain ways.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the video games and I think even Shippuden kind of keep a lot of that. Like, I've got, like, some Shippuden OSTs there from back from when I did my big binge of that. Shippuden kind of keeps some of the same feel, but it goes for a lot more orchestral pieces on top of the traditional instruments and the electric guitars.
Honestly,
and they also add a lot more choir, especially with the Akatsuki themes. But they add a lot more choiral elements.
Honestly, that's just the I don't know what to call it, but the drift in the music design in anime, like, fuck, because I was about to say, like, another big shonen touch of the time, Bleach. Bleach was kind of the same way in its sound design. As I said, it was a lot of guitars synced, but they usually actually focused more on the the rock of it, and just women just screaming.
Yeah, number one, very iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Though, Bleach. Bleach's composer Shiro, I think Sagisu, something like that. Bleach also has some very, like, weird, eclectic, iconic soundtrack moments. But yeah, no, you're right. That was definitely a, like, early 2000s anime thing, and it probably had to do with, like, limited budgets and limited production time, right? Like, you're producing these for weekly shonen, and so you reuse a lot of the music elements. But yeah, they were just, like, done with what they had on hand, which I assume, if you're composing music, at some point you probably own some kind of guitar. You probably have access to a synthesizer. Actually,
I've actually been, like, because I started following something like Alex Mokala and stuff. He actually, like, talks about, like, making music. You don't necessarily have to be able to play a instrument to be able to compose music, because a lot of it nowadays is... you get in front of a program that makes the fucking music for you, and then you play it there, and then if you need to actually do some real, have some real instruments, and you just go find your fucking instrument players and be like, it's like, this thing I made, play it, and then they do, and you're like, perfect.
Yeah, that's kind of how like, telecom has evolved.
Yeah.
I also want to throw out there, since we bring up the Bleach, the thing that Bleach also had that was very Bleach iconic was, since Hecomundo and the Arankar get introduced, Bleach was heavy on the Spanish guitars.
Yeah, I was about to say that, the fucking flamenco style and whatnot.
Yeah, like, very, very strong acoustic guitar vibes. And like I said, like, Naruto also has its own, like, it has very strong use of the traditional Japanese instruments. And you're right, though, that as both digital technology has evolved and presumably as budgets have gotten bigger, you can actually see a lot more, like, you get a lot more orchestral elements because, you know, composers can just make up an orchestra virtually or get one together with the money they have and kind of move on to different sounds.
Yeah, like I said, like, because once we got, like EDM, like, well, I won't even say, like, EDM necessarily, but electronic music has been around for a long time, but it really hit the mainstream, like, mid-2000s. It's only blown up from there. Like, the
dubstep craze.
Yeah, just the dubstep craze and whatnot. And I want to say, like, the dubstep craze never fully made it into anime and whatnot, because I mean, sometimes you will get some crazy ass dubstep tracks. I will forever remember fucking Battle Tendency, fucking JoJo's Bizarre Battle Tendency, where a fucking squirrel is killing everyone, and there's just the fucking dubstep is going wild in the background.
As for a series so deeply steeped in music, JoJo has always had very, very strong music choices, but just like as eclectic as the series is, its music choices are also all over the place. Like, you know, the Nazi character has his own theme that is like really heavy German industrial. Who could have guessed? You know, shit like that. Like, nah.
But like definitely in modern times, there definitely seems like now we are definitely like full in this. Oh, what I want to call it, marriage between like traditional like orchestral music and electronic. It's really wild. Like I think my perfect example right now is actually the ending to Shadow House by Riona. It's like almost, oh god, what do you want to call what do you call that creepy dollhouse kind of music? Fuck, it's not Calliope, it's
yeah, it's not quite Calliope, though that is in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you've never gotten that, I'm fairly certain that is the joke behind Calliope Mori's name.
Yeah.
Is that while that is the muse of music, it's also a genre of
creepy carnival
music. Yeah. So it fits her perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know.
No, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know creepy doll music.
Yeah, so it's like that, but like modern, like, so it's like creepy doll music, orchestral choir, and then just electronica beats. I'm just all like, you listen to them, it was all like, these are three things that you would never actually expect to fit so well together, but they do. Everyone, if you haven't heard it, go please listen to Nai Nai by Riona. You can listen to it on Spotify. Like I'm just like, it's good. It's so good. But yeah, no, but like you're talking, yeah, no, Naruto, OG Naruto has some very classic stuff, but the music changed with the times, like especially going into Shippuden.
Yeah, Shippuden. This is also another thing. Actually, animation changed. Like I think I've not only have I played some of the events, but I did actually go on Crunchyroll and see what was up and like watched a couple of the episodes of Shippuden. It's just a lot harder for me to binge because I can't do that from my bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning as easily because computer placement. Whereas, like I said, Netflix has really streamlined that binge experience, guys. But like the way they handle the animation is different. Like in old school Naruto, it's you know old early 2000s animation. There are some computer assistance, but a lot of it's still like the hand-drawn frames imported to the computers and stuff. So, you know, a lot of scenes make use of the minimal movement. This is probably why they use flashbacks so much because you're producing anime on a week-to-week basis, right? So you got to reuse
some assets when you can.
Yeah. This is why you get elongated flashbacks, and also this honestly may be why so much effort is put into the OST because often the beats of the OST fill those time in the flashbacks. Like there are a lot of moments where I'm like, man, this is really a lot of dead air and a lot of dead screen time just to let the OST play out the last couple of notes, right? Like they just are like, we got like 30 seconds left in the soundtrack. We don't need to do anything. Like, so it's very interesting to see how they kind of like buy time that way. But the animation is usually very, very simple. And then it's got that thing that I recently saw actually, I think on a VFX artist react where they talk about how like especially for older anime, you always know when you're going into one of those Sakuga animation and like big deal animation episodes because you watch the episode and you're like, oh, this is completely different. These are all new drawn assets, right?
Yeah.
Like you can tell when you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be a big deal episode, because you're like, everybody is like shaded slightly different. They're all moving different. You know, they're speaking differently. It's not just simple lip flaps. And you're like, oh man, we're gonna do some shit this episode.
Man, I remember.
And they do, because man, I know a decent number of it was rotoed or done with references, but like no, even in 4.3 in standard def, some of OG Naruto's fight scenes still slap. Like you're like, man, there is some fucking artistry in this, and they were not shy. Like they went those extra miles. And it's like I said, it was a very interesting because it's such a time capsule. Like I said, not just for like sound design, but also for like a series that at this point has I think Naruto's over 20 years old or around 20 years old.
It's around that time.
Yeah. You know, it's been the manga anyways been over for like it's got to be close to like 10 years, 5 or 10 years as well. Like it's an interesting time capsule of our time. It's also interesting like knowing how it all ends to kind of see characters kind of evolve. It's made me think a lot about character writing dynamics. Like if you don't mind doing a little bit of a deep dive on some Naruto stuff, I have a lot of interesting thoughts about how part 1 is framed versus how the Naruto ended up, right?
Right.
So it's first of all, it seems very obvious now in retrospect of how much of a setup the pre-time skip bits the part 1 is. Like obviously there's a lot of world building that comes after they jump into after the time skip, which I think could have been spiced in a little bit more. But it's very interesting to see kind of the character dynamics. Like I don't want to say like out and out, you know, like some people are very harsh, and I actually, you know, I read somewhere that part of the reason why she got out of focus was that Sakura was actually an unpopular character overall. As opposed to Hinata, who kind of turned into the heroine at the last minute, who was wildly popular over in Japan. I think she topped some character polls. So not shocking that development shifted, but like, I'm not going to say out and out that like Sakura was useless. But there are quite a few fights where Sakura does nothing but stand there and just yell characters' names. And it sort of gave me thinking critical about like I'm like, okay, why don't you do anything, Sakura? And I think ultimately it's because of the way Kishimoto wrote the OG like triangular character dynamics, right? Because you got a power trio, right?
Yeah.
Very iconic assembly in fiction. People like threes. And when you can bring 3 traits together and you can kind of form this triangle, you can get some interesting overlap. So when we go through the part 1 of Naruto, we have our main characters that form this trio, and everybody's different points on a triangle. Naruto is the strength, the power, or the stamina character. Naruto is book dumb. He's an idiot. He's, you know, barely passes his exams. He's not good at any of the technical shit of being a ninja. But he has freakish levels of MP and unnaturally big stamina, right? Like, the boy takes hits and he keeps on trucking. It's not just his mental determination, but he's just a tough boy. That's usually how he gets out of all of his problems, is he brute forces them. He literally throws hundreds of himself at the problem until it's solved. You know, this is why he picks up the aptitude for Rasengan later, where it's like, oh, you don't need any fancy hand signs or anything for this. You just need a shitload of chakra. And when we get to part 2 and stuff, Naruto actually does improve from his training. He gets a lot cleverer and a lot more tactical with his deployment of shadow clones, using other techniques and stuff. Mastering his ability to transform his shadow clones into different things. That's a skill he always had, was he was really good at transform. You know, pretending to be shurikens, other people, etc. And of course, the classic sexy jutsu move.
Super powerful. Used it on the final boss.
But like, that kind of fills his niche, and you're like, this is a good main character niche. And especially because it's not until after the time skip that Naruto really starts to develop his like ninja Jesus magnetic hero power set, right? Like, yes, the first part, having just watched all of it, does have a little bit of like, Naruto does have the ability to like make these connections with people, but they don't really go anywhere. Like, Naruto's showdown with Gaara has a big lasting implications on both of their character arcs. It doesn't really come back until after the time skip. Like, yeah, Gaara comes back as basically a good guy to bail Rock Lee out, but he's still kind of a jerk in that. He's just like, he's kind of an asshole. He's just like, no, I'm here because we're in an alliance now, and also this is important to that Naruto guy, right? I'll be cool. That's it. Like, he doesn't really start to get character development until later. Naruto is able to kind of empathize with Haku, which again reminds me that it's very weird that First Ninja Storm just skipped the Zabuza arc entirely. Very weird. But Haku immediately dies.
Immediately.
Like, not even, you know,
they stole my heavy
to like
and
the
used it
fight.
against me,
They
you
just
animals.
they just jump in the way of the Raikiri, the first super attack we see in the series, and just, you know, eat knobs. Blarg, I'm dead. Though that gives Zabuza a great catalyst moment where he, you know, kicks the ass of about a bajillion people, even though he can't use his fucking arms. Armed only with his teeth and a kunai knife, he kills an asshole and scares a whole shitload of people and dies peacefully. Good on him.
Good on him.
But like Naruto doesn't really develop, like I said, that Jesus power set until later. Now, is that because obviously there's a little bit of a tone shift in Naruto between the time skips? Like some people have joked about how, oh, Neji was right. Everything is about predestined bloodlines and shit. Kinda. That said, also, I think ultimately the story of Naruto does end about subverting that. Say what you will about the conclusion, it is about breaking the cycle of revenge and shit. Like, so ultimately, I think the themes in part 1 still ring true a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that final fight, that final fight wasn't about bloodlines. It was about two people coming together and finally fighting out their fucking differences and making up for it.
And because those two characters are archetypes, it's can they actually settle this for once without killing the other, which is how this archetypal fight has gone all throughout history. And they do. They both got to blow up an arm to do it, but they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blood shadows form hands, and it's I'll stand by it. Yep. Naruto's still pretty good, y'all.
Nah, I'm cool with it.
It knows what it's about. I know some people are kind of like
honestly,
mad about stuff.
I'm not necessarily mad about shit. Fuck. Like I said, like I mentioned it, like, you know, I was talking about Bleach earlier. Bleach is the one I'm mad about.
I don't even remember if I even ever bothered to finish the fucking manga. It just the last arc just dragged on way too long, and it was very weird. It was. I assume it was just the conflict between Kubo and his editors about moving on and finishing shit and just not having it anymore. Like, I think Bleach has a lot of good concepts. It just got bogged down with an ensemble cast problem that it kept reiterating on. Anyway, Naruto, though.
Naruto.
So I mentioned Naruto, right? And he doesn't really develop, like I said, that magnetic hero thing until the second part. So Sasuke is our... Well, okay, so somebody brought up the Kaguya thing, and I do think that, for instance, that's something that Boruto is way more about. Like, that's the thing I'm talking about, right? Like, I'm fairly certain Naruto had a decent amount of world building. There are some retcons, or at least alleged retcons, like, man, the way they treat the One Tail is really, really different in the first part to the second part. Almost like we maybe didn't have the whole 9 different tailed beasts things worked out until way later. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I do think they could have spaced out the world building a little bit better, but at the same time, the world building wasn't really what you were reading Naruto for. But yeah, no. So Sasuke, I was gonna mention, Sasuke is our technical character. Like, he's a prodigy. He's the best in his class. He's really good at all the ninja stuff, right?
Right.
And so he kind of sets up himself as a rival to our main character. That goes horribly wrong for many, many, many chapters. Ooh, that's an interesting comment. Okay, so the Kaguya stuff was supposed to just only come out when we got to the sequel, but then Jump really wanted to stretch out Naruto. That makes sense. So they kind of packaged it into the finale of Naruto. I could see that. She does kind of come out of nowhere to... After Uchiha Madara comes out of nowhere to take over the big bad rules from Obito and... the other Akatsuki and stuff, Kaguya does come out of nowhere to take over the big bad job from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's all just fucking preamble to the actual final fight that we all wanted. Anyway. But yeah, so with Sasuke and Naruto, you've got these strong conflicts. Like, they're strong in different areas, and they really build up this rivalry very well. I really feel it like when Sasuke turns to Naruto at the start of the second half of the Chunin exams, it's like, you're one of the guys I want to fight. Like, they actually have this kind of, like, interesting back and forth that works really well. Now, where does this leave poor Sakura in the triangle?
No, like, well, my first thought was kind of sexist now that I think about it. But basically, her only role is just to stand in between them and, and swoon over them, I guess.
Yeah, she's well, and you see that also. She's kind of the moderator, right?
Yeah.
Like, while she is obviously on Sasuke's side, she will also be like. There are several times when she's like, "Hey, Sasuke, aren't you being a little bit of an asshole right now?" Like, she'll try and reel back in his impulses a little, which I do actually think that after some character development, it does make sense that they do end up together. Like, Sakura really did care about him and try and like roll him in. It's just when they were both 12, this relationship wasn't fucking going anywhere. Funny how that works. But like, I think she has the right personality type to like reel that motherfucker in. But like her role in the makeup is Sakura is the brains character / the control type character. Because they go out of their way to early on establish that Sakura has the best chakra control out of either of our two heroes. Like,
yes.
She masters the tree climbing thing before both Sasuke and Naruto, which is, up until that point, unheard of. Like, the fact that she's better than them at something, wild. Similarly, she's able to pass the first part of the tuning exam test without any help, which is nuts, because that was supposed to be, like, super high level, like, like the equivalent of, like, late high school or college-age testing, and she's at age fucking 12 able to pass most of these questions. Not that it mattered, obviously, but it's still a good quality. And the other thing that when Sakura gets her actual big moments of fights, all in the tuning exams, BT dubs. Listen, Sasuke tried to murder a lot of people over the years. Naruto had to slap the murder out of him, basically. That's what the final fight really is Naruto just beats all the murder out of Sasuke. He's like, Sasuke, stop murdering. And Sasuke's like, no. Stop it. No. Stop it. Okay, fine. I'm done.
Actually, was it like 3 confrontations? It was like 3 confrontations.
Yeah, it was like 3 big ones. And also, I do actually believe there are several steps in the actual final fight as they go, like, they start at their super high-level god-tier powers, and they eventually are resorted to just punching each other.
Oh, man.
Throwing kunai and shit. No, the final fight's so good. So sick.
Like I said, I never watched the actual final bits in, of the anime. Like I said, I watched in neutral Spanish of 4, but man, I loved in that game how they just kept cycling you back like through everything they've been through, back to the
that's a very good quality of the Storm games. That what they call the secret factor, where they show important flashbacks. It's been a while since I watched it, but if I remember rightly, I do believe that is actually, because that bit hadn't come out in the anime yet. I don't think. I think Storm 4 was released when the manga had finished, but the anime wasn't through the final arc. They needed some extra filler. But that is fairly much how the anime actually resolves it. Like, with series of interlocking flashbacks going back. Because Naruto is very long and very, very flashback stuff. Oh, no, Storm 2 is the secret factor as well. I'm playing it right now. Yeah, no, it does that as well. It's got the star bits. You can get the flashbacks. They don't go really ham on it yet so far, but it's in there. But yeah, no, so I was saying, Sakura does get a couple of good fights in, right?
Right.
They're mostly in the tuning exam. And what she shows in these fights is, one, I want to say this. Like, I don't actually think that Sakura is, like, a super badly written character. I think that her character archetype fits poorly into the part 1 of Naruto. It's why she changes a little dramatically. Like, she levels up into becoming Baby Tsunade. Because it gives her a thing that she lacks in the first part, which is she doesn't have any really clinch moves, right?
She doesn't have a special attack.
Yeah, she has no special attacks. She doesn't really do anything unique. What Sakura does have is, I do think it's fair to say that she stands up with the rest of the characters in terms of her, like, determination and fighting spirit. I'd have to double check, like, every single scene, but I am fairly certain that while Sakura will often yell at other characters to run away, unlike Sasuke and Naruto, I don't think she ever actually breaks and runs. Like, obviously she gets paralyzed by fear versus Orochimaru, but everybody does that. But like
Snake.
Yeah, Snake Eyes. But like there have been multiple times when Naruto or Sasuke are confronted by something freaky, and they full blown like start to wuss out and retreat, and then they have to like get their shit back together. I don't think Sakura ever does that, and the amount of times Sakura literally interposes herself. By the way, this is a 12-year-old girl, canonically. She interposes herself with nothing but a kunai knife between whoever she feels like defending, whether it's Tazura the Bridge Builder or Sasuke or whatever, and opponents who grossly outclass her. Very astonishing. The girl's got guts. She has the most important quality.
It's like she's a foundation, a rock.
Yes. Like, yes, she jobs out because she doesn't have any, like, crazy strong skills or technical abilities, unlike Sasuke and Naruto, but she has the determination to jump in there as much as they do, which is a good quality. But the fights that she actually gets that are good are almost all a showcase of the fact that she has mastery of all the basic abilities of a shinobi. Which, while cool, like, showing that, like, in her fight with the Sound 3, she busts out back-to-back regular clones and back-to-back substitutions, and then also at one point she baits the guy into throwing kunai at her, and just takes a kunai in the arm. Just takes one in the arm, for funs, to psych him out, because he's like, and you substitution, and now you're there? What's this? You're falling on me? You're gonna bite my arm?
Nom.
Like, yeah, and then when she has her fight against Ino, she shows that she has very good competence with, like, basic taijutsu concepts. She's not awful at hand-to-hand. She just doesn't have her super strength yet. She's trained in, like, traps and shuriken jutsu and stuff. But when you think about all the other characters, you realize that, like, the thing she's missing in part 1 is she doesn't have the secret sauce. Literally everybody has a unique thing about them. It's almost like Naruto turned into a thing about their ensemble cast, about having everybody have a unique thing. And in part 1, Sakura is like the only Leaf Genin character who doesn't have a unique thing. Her unique thing is that she heavily suppresses her deep-seated rage.
And funny enough, it kind of in Shippuden, she stops doing that and starts breaking shit.
Yeah, she stops suppressing and starts clobbering. And I think that's I don't know how much is planned. Some people may know more than me. I don't know how much was planned for her to, like, become Tsunade's apprentice and stuff.
I think it was.
I assume so, because it lines up very well. But,
yeah.
like, setting up her chakra control very early makes it her a natural fit for Tsunade's super strength. I'm also not shocked that she becomes the one out of those three main characters, she's the one who learns medical ninjutsu. Yeah, no shit.
Well, no,
it's not because she's the girl. It's because, like I said, she has a lot of caring and empathy for characters and a lot of drive about, like, man, that sucks watching you guys get beat up all the time. If only I could.
Naruto follows a lot of rules of 3. So as soon as we figured out there was, Orochi and Orochimaru and fucking Jiraiya.
Boy Jiraiya.
Yeah, no, it was a fucking shoo-in. Because basically each of the great 3 each had an apprentice, each from the same fucking,
Yeah,
group,
and like I've said before, Naruto is big on generational storytelling,
yeah,
right?
So.
And the master apprentice link, the Sanin were trained by the 3rd Hokage, who was trained by the 2nd Hokage, and he trained Jiraiya. Jiraiya trained the 4th Hokage, who trained Team Kakashi. Kakashi trained his own team, which included the 4th Hokage's son. By the way, that's another thing that I'm like, this is a fucking retcon. Like, it's still... I know that, like, the Konohana elders or whatever, the Konohana elders, like, covered all that shit up and stuff. It's still fucking dumb. It makes no goddamn sense how, like... And even then, they retcon in part 1. Like, they try and talk up how fucking friendless and dog shit Naruto is treated. But then they go to great lengths to show flashbacks of him goofing around with, like, Shikamaru, Kiba, and Choji a lot as well. Like,
I think that's more in that the adults, basically... I think is that it's a generational thing. The adults knew what was fucking up, but when the kids were young, they didn't necessarily know or care. But as they got older, they were more influenced by their parents' views and started shunning him more as they got older. But as a kid, they're like, nah, whatever.
And also Naruto kept being a fuck up.
Yeah. So I think that's on point, but I don't think
it kind of fits. It's just kind of weird how the themes go.
No, they didn't. They definitely did not explain it well. I'll definitely say that.
They don't pace it out very well. And like I said, there's also the simple fact that once you know the whole story, you're like, wow, the village is full of idiots.
Yeah.
This Uzumaki kid's got the Nine Tails in him. It killed so much. That's such a shame. Gee, wasn't the 4th Hokage married to an Uzumaki who was, super pregnant until just before the Nine Tails attacked? That said, like that's another thing that part two they get over it anyway. They fucking love Naruto. He becomes Ninja Jesus. It's one of those weird, like I said, theme things that like don't quite line up between the two parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they like they follow that chain of all that stuff going down, and it even extends further. Like I don't know if Naruto. It's been explained if Naruto straight up like. I think, is it still canon that Naruto went straight from Genin to Hokage? Like, he never... I hope they gave him eventually just gave him a courtesy Chunin bump at some point. He fucking saved the world as Ninja Jesus. I don't know, though. But,
I don't remember.
So I don't know if he ever explicitly, like... Because, obviously, Team Konohamaru had their own teacher in Ebisu, so I don't know if he ever took over, like, a formal teaching for Konohamaru, but he teaches Konohamaru, who is the grandson of the third Hokage. And then Konohamaru becomes the teacher for... Naruto's son later. And also, Konohamaru has, I believe it's been revealed like in the Boruto stuff and other supplement, that he has a very similar character arc to Kakashi, but with way less of his friends dying. Like, he's, been promoted to Jonin. He served in the Anbu Black Ops for a little bit, stuff like that. Also, by the way, poor Kakashi. That guy's fucking life, man. Damn. They don't harp on this a lot because he's super laid back in part one, but dude's been through a lot. Mm-hmm. He's not kidding when Sasuke calls him out and he's like, what if I killed everybody close to you, huh? How would you feel? And he's like, well, Sasuke, you couldn't do that, except everybody I've ever cared about is already dead, so...
It's just
good
one
luck
of those,
with that, buddy.
So it's just one of those moments of, yeah.
And Sasuke just immediately, like, bites his tongue. He's like, okay, all right, he's got me. He got me. And even then, that's not enough to not get Sasuke to turn away from the dark side.
Oh, shit.
Though that said, Sasuke doesn't really become an asshole until the second part. Like, even after he has that climactic fight with Naruto, where he's still kind of a jerk, he's still like, he does a lot of soul searching in that fight, and he's straight up admitting, nope, Naruto, you are definitely my closest friend. That is why I, in fact, have to fight you. And then, even though he's got the opportunity to activate his Mangekyo, he's like, no thanks, actually. I'm not going to listen to my brother, who, as far as I know, is a huge dickhead, and get power that way. I'm going to find my own route. Bye! That's also another thing that in context is really weird, the whole Itachi thing. Like, the way it's phrased in flashbacks, I don't know if Sasuke is, like, being an unreliable narrator or something, but, like, either there was a retcon to what was going on with Itachi's story, or, man, Itachi was really fucking hamming it up. For weeks ahead of time, by the way. Like, he's talking about shit like measuring his vessel, measuring his power level, like, days before he decides to kill all of his own clan. Which was actually for a Black Ops thing.
Yeah.
And was a whole thing. But, like, I'm like, okay, so either there's a retcon here, or Itachi is really good at selling his deep cover. Damn, dude. And obviously, I want to throw that out there. I still think that, like... But apart from, like, obvious mismatches of the retcons, like, that's another thing, like, man, Itachi's a huge asshole when he's in Akatsuki, but obviously that's also part of the deep cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does he decide to give Kakashi, 3 days straight of being stabbed with swords and with Tsukiyomi, even though using Tsukiyomi, melts his eyes? It's a little... Itachi, broski, brosif, we need to talk about some stuff.
He's just clearly in too deep.
Yeah, that's another thing that, like, they try to sell him as, like, a super unequivocal good guy later, but I'm like, no, and I respect Itachi a lot for being a guy who was so deep cover, he was willing to do a lot of fucked up shit.
Hey, as they say, you stare into the abyss stares back.
Like, I do actually believe, I can totally believe, even based on his part 1 characterization, that Itachi is working a, like, double super secret plan to make Sasuke, like, the strongest dude ever and, like, make sure he can take care of himself, because... as we've noted several times in here, the Konoha elders are actually kind of dickbags. Somebody really should have thrown Danzo in a hole years ago.
Yeah, but there's always those people who believe that they have to do what no one else will. Mm-hmm. Ends justify the means, except they usually don't.
Yeah, no. And I mean, like, with the Uchiha thing, like, they go through the whole point of revealing later that, like, no, the Uchiha are basically, like, familial cursed, which is a big Japanese storytelling trope to, like, no, they are just doomed to mostly be pissed off and mad about stuff. And so I'm like, nah, it tracks. No, The Curse of Hatred, all that stuff, that fits the storytelling theme. They're kind of dickheads. Would they... Absolutely, once we see the stuff, do I believe that they would do a coup? Yes. But yeah, there's definitely some retconning, but most of it's not too far out of the way. Like, it all still fits the themes later. And like I said, you can let them get away with a little bit because a lot of time did pass and writers refined stuff. It's mostly just an issue of, like, pacing and some characterization stuff. But it definitely got me thinking about, like, those character dynamics. I'm like, I was observing myself as I'm binging all this. Well, I'm thinking to myself, man, Sakura really is doing literally nothing right now. Like, at least for the Zabuza arc I mentioned, right? Like, Sakura does have a job. She stands in front of Tazuna. And she's not afraid to stand in that spot, even as higher-level ninjas try and murder that bridge man.
Mm-hmm.
Who lied about how tough this job was, by the way. And then guilts Kakashi into letting his team stick with a mission, even though they really shouldn't. Kakashi probably doesn't care. He was murdering dudes at, like, 6. Ages, by the way, is another thing that's really fucked up in Naruto, and this is never addressed. Kakashi was a Jonin at, like, age 6 or whatever.
I think that's actually has to do with
no, I think he was a Chunin. He graduated the academy at age 5, and then the next year he was a Chunin.
I guess
he became a Jonin when he was, like, 13. It's dumb.
It's something prodigy, something, don't hold them back, something, children are the future. Yeah. Japan has this big thing about fostering independence from a young age. Real hard.
Yeah. Well, and also I know that they have an aging population problem, so I think just in general they're really trying to upsell this children of the future thing, which is a other big huge touchstone theme of Naruto is like the next generation will come along and they will do better. If so long as you, the current generation, work towards that future, a next generation will arise and they'll do better than you. There are a lot of old, tired people in Naruto who have done a lot of bad shit in their life who meet fresh faces like the title character himself and are like, I should rethink my life. Excuse me, I'm gonna go die. Bleh.
Bleh. Just rethinking done. Bleh.
Yes. With the exception of, I think, like, another one of those major characters is the third Hokage, who's still like, yes, I have regrets, but also, I'm still not that old that I can't kick your ass, kid. You know? Like, he still slaps Orochimaru pretty hard. By the way, talking about Naruto music, I want to throw that out there. Orochimaru's themes are so unique because they use the one-woman choir, and they use organ music. And Orochimaru is the only motherfucker who has this element. It's so good at introducing a leitmotif. Like, when you hear the organs play, you're like, oh, this is some real shit. That's a good quality of a leitmotif, guys. But so I've been playing through some of the early Shippuden stories in Storm 2, and I've been thinking about, like, okay, but then while Sakura clearly gets a power-up and she gets a better role, she still doesn't do a whole lot in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do believe part of that is I brought this up, is that Sakura wasn't a super popular character, and the author Kishimoto wasn't necessarily as firmly affixed on what he was doing with her character, so she kind of faded to the backdrop a little bit, and Hinata kind of came forward, especially in those later chapters. Once the artist realized, oh, yes, this character is way cooler than I thought. People really like her.
I fucking remember the attack on Leaf Village and
oh yeah, no, like he really busted out the stops on Hinata. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of characters, a lot of shonen series have this ensemble cast, which becomes kind of an ensemble cast problem at times. But I think, like, at least, like I said, everybody except Part 1 Sakura in the original Leaf Genin has, like, a niche. And yes, sure, does Shino do anything important? Not really, but you recognize that motherfucker. He's the bug guy. You know who he is.
I think he does cool enough stuff.
I mean, yeah, Kishimoto does some interesting action set pieces with his bug powers, but yes, no, he doesn't. I don't think he ever does anything that's super plot important. But like I said, he's recognizable. You know who that motherfucker is? He's the bug kid. Really creepy bug kid.
Who was that girl that fucking Sakura had beef with? I'm trying to remember. Ino. Did she ever really do anything?
Yeah, no, Ino does a lot, especially later in the manga, and I think this is more expanded in the anime. The anime does a lot of stuff with buying for time in the Great Fourth Shinobi War. Mm-hmm. You know, like the manga glosses over a lot of fight scenes. The anime takes an opportunity to kind of build out some of those characters. but she's kind of important because her family's techniques are very important to the Leaf logistics. And spoilers, kids. Not like we haven't been spoiling Naruto, but her and Shikamaru's dad fucking dies. Like they're coordinating the Great Shinobi Army, and Obito and Madara are like, oh yeah, these guys are important. Let's cut off the head and blow their asses up.
Yeah, she had what, like some sort of weird telepathy ability or something?
Yes, her family's secret techniques were telepathy, body swap. She could take over other people's bodies, or
that's what it was.
The higher level technique is basically to briefly brainwash your enemies.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, no, because I was trying, like, I was mentally going through, like, you know, the ensemble cast and what they can do, and I just kind of balked at her for a minute. I forgot.
It's probably because her techniques are not very visually impressive.
Yeah,
they're all in the mind. But like, yeah, no, she's got a dedicated niche, and they do a lot to like grow her character, and she makes a solid second string supporting character. Probably because Shikamaru really grows into an alternate protagonist role. He gets a lot of growth throughout the series, and I really like his character. He was trending on like Twitter like last week because people were like, I don't know how it started as Twitter twin. Wow, I just said that backwards again. As Twitter trends do, but it was absolutely like a, hey, y'all remember how Shikamaru was cool? And I'm like, yeah, I do. He was cool.
Yeah, I know. He just kind of always seemed like this lazy bum, but you just realize he's kind of just a genius. He just doesn't want to do hard work. And he's just like... Yeah. But, you know, when the chips are down, he'll fucking put in the time.
Mm-hmm. I love his speech when they start Sasuke retrieval. He's like, listen, I don't know Sasuke very well. In fact, I don't like that guy. Like, I think the way he phrases it in Japanese is like, Suki janai. I do not like him.
Mm-hmm.
But he is my nakama. He's my comrade from Leaf. So, because he is a fellow Leaf Shinobi, we're gonna rescue his ass. Like, that's our goal. Like, that really, I think, emphasizes Konoha's philosophy. Like, unlike a lot of other ninja villages, their thing is very strongly about like, they call it the will of fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have this kind of philosophy about passing on to the next generation, sticking up for each other, and it's why they've stayed so strong, and also probably why I believe it is generally considered in the tier rankings that the Hokage are some of the strongest of the Kage of the Shadows. Like, generally they are considered to be some of the greatest ninja of all time.
Honestly, the whole fucking Sasuke retrieval like mini arc it's still one of my favorites because it's all...
yeah, no, it's so good especially with this like tactical underlying thing of like every time they meet they have to, it's phrased as sacrifice a piece, but like they realize they have to like leave guys behind to stall for time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these great iconic matchups. Choji versus the big guy.
Choji versus just then Choji, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, as Choji goes through the limits and, you know, pushes himself to the end, and that fucking final shot as he's like, you know, almost dead on his feet, he's gonna pass out. You know, he's used all his energy, and he finds the message his friends left for him, and he's just like, you guys are cool. I'm gonna sit under this tree. Fucking Neji versus Kidomaru, the spider guy, where Neji takes like 2 of these giant crossbow bolts to his, you know, these giant ballistic shots to his guts. And that's his winning strategy is like, oh, actually, I knew that you would hit me, so I deflected it slightly, and I just took it on the chin and fucking blew your face up.
12-year-old
Also, by the way, shout out to Neji. Part 1 Neji doesn't hold back. He will straight up murder your ass. He'll like strike at the heart or your brain.
Mm-hmm. It's his greatest strength, but also kind of makes him an asshole.
Yeah. By the way, no, we're not getting. No, I watched that fight. Neji is a fuckboy. Like when you first meet him and he has that fight with Hinata, you're like, Neji, why are you such an asshole? Thank God he eventually grows out of it.
Literally
mostly because adults just tell him the fucking truth for once. Gee, it's as if we could solve so many problems that way. Oh well.
Who knew?
But yeah, no, he really grows as a character, and I think ultimately him being the guy to like the actual guy who really dies. Like some people complain that Naruto kills and brings back a lot of characters. I've kind of personally had kind of a revelation about character death tropes, mostly thanks to OSP. I've realized actually I'm okay with characters not dying, even when logically they should die, because if you kill a character, you've fucked up all future character arcs.
Yeah,
they're done. They can't, like, if Neji actually dies at the end of part 1, You can't get any of the stuff he does in part 2. You can't see him grow as a character. You can't see his relationship with Rock Lee grow, because that's a big deal. Rock Lee gets crippled for most of the part 1. Like, if you think about it in terms of plot stuff, Rock Lee comes in pretty early. You know, the Chunin exams are the second major arc. It's, I think, like the second or third season of the anime. And, like, he has a couple of really good fights. He has one of the early Naruto's sickest fights when the animation goes really apeshit, him versus Gaara. And then he just jobs out, and he's stuck in casts and crutches for seasons, literal months of in-universe time. And he does come back at the end of Sasuke Retrieval, another great scene, when the Sound 4 adds a 5th guy, and he comes back to fight him, and then he gets drunk. That's when the drunk fist gets revealed.
Take my medicine.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I'm actually kind of sad that, like, sometimes that some of these villains die so much, because we're not shy about killing villains permanently. I'm fairly certain all those Sound guys, they're fucking dead. Like,
they're dead.
Choji just straight up smashes the first guy. Kitamaro gets his chakra point sealed, and like I said, Neji shot chakra directly into his brain at one point.
Oof. I'm
pretty sure he's dead. Tayuya, the one girl, is super dead, because Tamari, like, slashed her a bunch of times and dropped a forest on top of her. Also, Sakon and Ukon, the twins guys, also another great power. Not as flashy. They didn't really have a lot of flashy moves, but just the idea that this guy who's got 2 heads, actually, he's 2 guys. He got put in one of Kankuro's horrible torture puppets and definitely died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Sand Kids don't fuck around. They'll murder your ass.
Crystarium, that's where I'm going.
But, like, there's a lot of the really good moments, like I said. They do a lot of good fights that show all the characters' growths and everything. And then it ends with Naruto and Sasuke at the Valley of the End, which you don't even know is super important, actually.
Again, I feel like Naruto was kind of being made up as it went. Especially in that part 1. It was only probably, like, when we hit part 2, when I forgot the mangaka's name. I was like, alright, I have an idea. But
yeah, part 1 definitely seeds all the stuff. Like, obviously, Akatsuki is introduced the concept that they're after certain weapons and they're, like, wanting to pick up Naruto because he's got the 9 tails sealed inside him. But, like, for instance, the phrase that appears in Shippuden, Jinchuriki,
Kishimoto,
which I believe literally translates to something like human sacrifice. It's a really unpleasant word.
Oof.
That Naruto objects to later. That doesn't show up at all until Shippuden, until part 2, the time skip. Like, I do actually feel like Kishimoto, you're right, I think he had his bare bones sketch. Like, I think he said that he actually wanted a more magical, higher power series, but his editors were like, no, start small, build up. Like, so I assume that a lot of the bare bones stuff was already in, but there are a couple of obvious retcons in the first part I've called out. And, like, you're right that some of the tones and themes weren't locked in until after the time skip. But they do a lot of good work with those characters. But I was talking about this earlier. I was talking about Sakura. She doesn't ever really feel like she does something even in the second part. It's because Kishimoto did the other great writing blunder with characters.
Oh.
Like, first of all, her being the control smarty pants character, that's a really hard character archetype to illustrate, especially in a battle focused manga, right? Then he gave her super strength. Here's the problem with super strength, guys. If your super strong character lands a punch on a normal character, they're fucking done. Sakura is introduced with her super strength, shattering the ground and, like, punching tree trunks in half. Right?
Right.
If she hits a normal human, or even a Naruto human with those, because Naruto people are fairly tough, like, not just Naruto, but, like, Sasuke shrugged some hit into, sheer rock walls that really should have broken, I don't know, all of his bones.
All of them. Yeah.
Just all of his bones. Not even with his curse mark on, just, thrown into a rock wall. Not counting the fucking pile driver that Naruto at one point just takes dead on the head and doesn't fucking die. But he's got superpowers. But, like, if Sakura hits a normal human with those punches, they should be done. Even Jiraiya has talked about how crazy strong Tsunade is. So, this means this becomes a problem. Sakura can't ever actually punch anybody. If she punches anybody, the fight should be over. And they have to come up with kind of excuses for her not to just punch people to death. They do this in the intro arc of Shippuden, in the Kazekage arc, because she fights Sasori, the puppet guy, Puppets are easy to punch. They can, some of them can survive a couple of hits, and otherwise they're just disposable puppets. She can punch those to death. But I think it generally becomes a problem with her finishing off enemies because it's the classic Worf effect. Sakura can't actually be allowed to punch most enemies because she would just solve the problem. Which is it's kind of reversing the curse on your unfortunate character writing tropes, where like Sakura doesn't really have any killer moves in part 1. She can't really do anything other than basic stuff. That, and also I believe Kakashi at some point says that she's a genjutsu type. I think pure genjutsu characters almost never do anything in Naruto. Look at poor Kuranai, who accomplishes almost nothing in part 1, and then in part 2 catches a case of pregnancy and never does anything important again. But she's also supposed to be good at genjutsu, and that's another thing that's like really hard to work with in a fight-based narrative. Like most of the genjutsus we see are you've been ensorcelled, it's over. You pass out, or you don't see me and I stab you. Like or you get horrific mental torture. Like it's one of those things that where when the system was being built, when we were thinking about like the 3 pillars of ninjutsu, that I don't think Kishimoto really considered how OP genjutsu and illusions could be. Mm-hmm. And this is why a lot of characters don't do any. Well, I mean, a lot of characters have weaknesses because the Uchiha are very broken. But like, also just like, even then, how many Uchiha genjutsus do we actually see? Like, Sasuke almost never does normal ass genjutsu. He does do some hypnotism, and he does get access to stuff later with Mangekyo, but it's not a big deal for him. He doesn't emphasize it. But yeah, it's just a weird thing where like, a lot of the character tropes get spaced out and they don't make sense. So then Kishimoto is kind of like, okay, well she's Junior Tsunade, we'll upgrade her, we'll shift her to being a more physical type. Cool. Wait, shit, if she punches anybody, the fight's over.
She's done.
Which is a writing problem sometimes. We've talked before, we don't need to beat a dead horse, but we've talked about this in like our tabletop stuff, where like if you're too good, and we have this problem occasionally, if you're too strong and you can end the fight instantly, you create a lot of anticlimactic fights if you don't have a way to reel that in.
Yep.
So it kind of creates that same problem where you need to have this build-up. And unfortunately, just Sakura misses a bunch of times and then punches the guy. It's not very interesting. It's not a very good combo. Like, I don't want to say I'm a full-blown apologist for Naruto. I do think there are some missteps with the characterization and, like, some traps Kishimoto wrote himself into. Overall, I have a positive experience because I think a lot of the themes on a lot of the action set pieces we do get are very high quality, but like we've said, there's a lot of stuff that gets brought up in the first part that doesn't quite come back around the same way you'd think it was in the second half. And I will continue to play those Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. Okay, so let's see. We've been going for about 2 hours 45. Lucky had his big talk about Shadowbringers. I talked about all the Naruto stuff we've been doing. Do we really have anything else going on? Anything else happening?
I want to say nay. We don't necessarily have any Star Wars talk. Not really.
No, you guys, as I thought you might, had a kind of, actually it would make sense a lot for what the subject of the session, but we had kind of a laid-back, slow recon session last time.
Mm-hmm.
And we delivered, and actually, you guys actually approached me about, ooh, is this a good point for the cutoff? And I'm like, yes, actually, but I have one more bit of narration to do. But, like, we found that sweet spot of, like, yes, this is the time to pull it and call back. So we're going to have a fun session this weekend, I'm sure.
I'm excited. But, yeah, no, then other than that, no, I think we might...
I mean, we can mention, because we had a very long ramble about it last week, I think we went for, like, a solid hour right at the start. We did actually incorporate the guys' plans to do this kind of in a stealthier, lo-fi manner, fairly painlessly.
Yeah.
Once we got to the actual bit of doing it, everything else worked out, and I think it worked out best because, excuse me, the way you guys kind of worked out was you decided ultimately that your ooh, I'm very burpy all of a sudden. Your best approach was to just swim.
Yeah.
So you put on your scuba gear, which obviously restricts your equipment load a little bit.
Yes.
So it'll be fun to see you guys tackle this one. Like I said, I wrote it out very, not quite dungeon, but very very video game map style. Like everything's connected up and has specific elements, in specific places. So I'll be excited to see what you guys find out and what you do and stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if we don't have anything super further, and you're still just chilling in 14.
Yeah, no, I will say I'm glad I did not spend like a half hour just running around in the circle as I talk, but I haven't been doing anything like particularly special.
We can probably go ahead and wrap up. We've gone for 2 hours 45, almost 250 now actually. The FAF power.
The faff.
A little stiff. But yeah, let's wrap up then. Audio, do you still exist? I just realized I haven't like checked the audio at all in like almost 3 hours. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
But yeah, so trying to get a little dry. If you like this episode and you're watching it on YouTube now, be sure to give it a like. And so you've already got 3 of those. We could get some more of those.
I'd appreciate it.
There's like 11 of you in chat. You can give it some likes right now. That's right. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out right now, 11 concurrent viewers. Give it a like. If you have any comments, leave in the comment section down below. You can also hit us up on our Discord. That link is, as always, in the description on the channel page. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can interrupt the outro. Lucky, did you want to talk at all about how you did the great community restructuring?
Oh, shit. I totally forgot about that. Huh.
I'll interrupt my own outro for this. I don't think it'll take you too long to talk about it.
No, so like I said, Thursday is I'm gonna work on channel stuff more. So this Thursday, excuse me, not this Thursday, last Thursday, I decided to put on my community manager hat because I've been doing some reading on Discord and whatnot and realized that there were some tools that we maybe have not necessarily been using.
Discord's been pretty great about updating stuff lately.
Yeah. So with that, I basically did a look into some things and check some stats and whatnot. And I was like, all right, let me do some things. I was a bit of an animal because, like I mentioned in the post, I didn't actually confer with Omega on this. I just literally did it all. But I also like to believe that I have a decent understanding of Omega and his limits and whatnot, and how he treats things. So actually, let me pull up the post.
We've been working together long enough that I think we understand how we feel about most things without a need to ask.
Yeah.
You literally call it out in the post. You were like, and I looked at this other thing, but also I can see Omega being like, nah, I don't want to fuck with it, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Which is actually, when you said that, I responded to you the other day. I was like, actually, Lucky, you're quite correct. I had also already looked into that feature, and I was like, this seems kind of cool, but our setup is already how I like it and understand it, so I don't feel a strong need to change it right now.
Yes. But, so I'll just go through this list. So one of the things that Discord added is you can add a welcome screen to your Discord where basically you can post all your rules, and then people have to agree that they've read the rules and will follow them. Like, we had tried to do this before by just having, our welcome screen be the first screen, and then we set our moderation to high, in which they actually can't chat for 10 minutes. It was kind of a column A, kind of B kind of situation. But with this welcome screen, I can just be like, no, these are the fucking rules, read them, agree to them. You have now officially agreed to them, so now if you fuck up, I'm just going to point at you to you fucking agreed to this, and then lay the smite upon thee. And because of that, I then, after that, lowered our new member moderation down to medium, which means instead of being in the Discord server for 10 minutes, they just have to be part of Discord for 5 minutes. It's still above low, which is they have
literally anybody.
The what?
I think it's literally anyone can join. They can click the link, and if they don't have an account, they'll probably be prompted to make one, kind of a thing. Like
no. Low is they have to have their email verified, by Discord, because when you
that's
so
right. Okay, that's still pretty decent.
Yeah, still pretty decent.
I think in the past, moderation has been like we may have been on high because lower moderation levels may have been sketchier in the past as well.
Yeah, they might have cleaned up, but I lowered us to medium because I'm like, all right, they've had to have a Discord for 5 minutes and they have to agree to the rules. I'm pretty sure that's good because I have noticed sometimes people will join and then they literally can't say anything. So I'm just like, ugh. But
yeah, that's fine.
It works.
I feel like the moderation levels have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's probably good that somebody took a look at them recently and kind of refluffed it.
So, third thing, I think I cleaned up the rules. I don't expect this to stay like this forever. We do have a habit of just making random rules and giving them to people for jokes and memes, but I basically did take all the ones that actually did not do anything or mean anything and remove them. I think the only one I left was waifu, because I don't know if we actually will do something with that later.
Yeah, that may or may not turn into a higher level like Patreon. We've joked about that before. That may or may not turn into our like super premium Patreon tier.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I left that one, but all the other ones are gone, unfortunately/unfortunately. But
Yeah, currently, all the roles in our server now officially do something.
yeah. Now
They're either part of our level system or they're part of the various the other thing you're going to talk about, the various hidden groups.
Yeah. So next thing, fourth thing I did, excuse me, is I added a new role, channel, and category. I talked about this earlier. The role is Crow Mafia. It's basically just for the Final Fantasy XIV gaming group. And the new channel is the Crow's Nest, which is where the Crow Mafia can go and post as many fucking memes about Final Fantasy without worrying about, you know, flooding the games channel. And of course, the new channel, like, I find it hilarious. I don't know if people can even see the gaming because all three of the gaming channels are private groups. Because it's the Crow's Nest, which is private to only Crow's Mafia. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression Tournament, which is private to
Progression players.
And then it's the Secret Tabletop Compel, which is private to the StudiOmega players, which is the tabletop groups. Like, I was looking at them, I was like, there's 3 channels, and the more I thought about it, because they were kind of, Progression Tournament and Secret Tabletop was actually up in the business section, I was like, yeah, we do record these, but at the same time, we also don't necessarily do it. Sometimes.
Well, I think when you did the thing where you made a third one, it was like, this needs to be its own thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like, it was definitely that point of, like, we got, like, 3 of them, and I felt like the theme of gaming encapsulates what they're about. It's just some people might not see anything in them.
Yeah, they're hidden for now. Like, and who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have some more public stuff, but for now they're just our secret hangout spots where we record stuff and talk about games.
I was thinking...
And also they serve as, like I said, our like, hidden containment of shenanigans.
Yeah, like... There are some things where I can do where I can let people view things but not be able to post things, but Discord role priority is still weird to me. I said,
I don't think we ever like really got a good grasp of that.
Yeah, no. So that's something I'm planning on working on because I got another role fucking in mind. It's gonna be called Banished to the Shadow Realm, where I just basically cut people off from doing fucking anything.
Yeah, we've been beta testing this for a while. We still have the old timeout role.
Yeah, so...
It never quite worked.
It never quite worked, but it's going to get there eventually. And whenever you piss off Lucky, he's just going to click your name right and just say banish, and you're just not going to be able to do anything. Because, listen, I want to be able to enforce some tyranny, but I don't want to necessarily want to have to kick/ban people to do it.
Well, yeah, and we've had this problem before. Like our usually only recourse for people who are being shenanigansy is to server deafen and mute them.
Mm-hmm. Or just,
but that requires them to be in a VC, and guess what? I've talked about this before. We can't unfuck that if you're not in a VC.
Yeah.
The button options go away. So a role that, like, puts you in timeout, basically, for a little bit of, like, okay, you're sassing me? Like I mentioned, I did my Jackbox stream before. I, like, went to go on a pee break or something and went away, and I talked about it because I was being a little passive-aggressive towards the other VC a little bit because they were just chilling, doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I briefly changed that to Bully Gaming, the channel they were in. For like 6 hours, I fixed it, or probably more like 12 because I fixed it the next day. I remembered, but
yeah.
They noticed and was like, and then somebody was goofy enough. It was David, I think, was like, bully me more, and I'm like, well, he's called my bluff. You can't do that. You can't call my bluff. I'm on stream right now. So, I server deafened and muted for a little bit. And he was like, yes, I regret my actions immediately.
And no, Jonathan, if you want to talk Final Fantasy XIV, you can still talk about it in games.
Yeah. So the purpose of Lucky's Crow's Nest channel is a lot like my Progression Tournament channel or our Secret Tabletop. You can still talk about other shit other places. It's just that this is a containment area where Lucky can literally directly address the people who are in his Final Fantasy guild, his free company.
Mm-hmm.
And also when they're hanging out together, they have a place to post all their invites and all of their excessive Final Fantasy memes, of which there are a lot.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we do in Progression. Like, it's exactly like we mostly use it as a place to talk about all of our Progression stuff. Set up recordings, track stats, do trades, whatever. Do game invites, obviously, for when I do the actual recording. But also sometimes we just shitpost about Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff in there, and in a way that doesn't make sense to people just in our casual trad game server.
Like, honestly, like, thinking about it, like, it's only a few people, like, it's mostly Suna and me in there right now, but other people have been popping in, talking, chatting, all this stuff in the thing. It's actually somewhat active already.
Yeah,
so...
I've got you because we're both admin ranked roles, so we can't not put each other in secret groups.
Yeah.
So I assume you have progression tournament muted.
Yeah.
I always, when I'm in there, I make sure not to ever use @here. I always use @the role because I have myself the role, so I never bother Lucky with our internal stuff. I similarly can view your crow's nest. I've got it muted as well, but I will occasionally like look at it and go like, "Hey, are these guys doing anything?" Gee, there's like 5 million memes in here. Cool. All right, bye.
Bye. So no, you can still talk Final Fantasy 14. Like actually, I was planning on like if they weren't talking like massively about Guilty Gear Strive, I was gonna drop the trailer and be like, "Y'all guys, check this shit out." But guess what? They are super having Strive bonus. I'm just like, nah, I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, they're busy. They got there's a flow of conversation going on. I don't think I had to change anything, but I recently double checked our. Actually, no, I did add a couple of clarifications because Lucky talked about like making people agree to the rules. We have a short form version of our rules that is posted on Discord, and then I have a Google Doc, which is my over the years full extended version of the rules with like extra clarification and stuff. And I did actually like add a couple of notes and clarify about like this is a problem I noticed we've been having occasionally lately where some people will double post or cross post a lot, and I'm just like, don't do that, guys. We saw your first post, okay?
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, oh, we're having a conversation immediately related to this in a different channel, you can cross post, or like I've talked about this with like the double posting thing in Art Dump. If it's like 6 or 12 hours later, yes, you can post art again. If you post art or a meme like 5 times and I have seen it every single time, I will call you out on it and please tell you to stop. But that's very rare. And mostly it's just like we're trying not to make it so that you're like chewing up actual new content by posting things that everybody's already fucking seen. But yeah. But I was rereading this and myself and looking at it, and like that's one of our big key things is mostly about not being an undue asshole to randos online and like generally not fucking with the flow of conversation.
Yeah.
Like try not to break in and interrupt people, try not to double post things over and over again that people may already be talking about. You know, try not to you know, the let people enjoy things is like if people are having a conversation about positive stuff, don't feel the need to get it slip in there and dogpile for negative stuff, you know. Oh, we are actually wrapping up. Axe, we did the most us thing we've ever done. We interrupted the outro to bring up another topic.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, that's that was the middle of that. Let's see. Let me go look at the technical post. So that was the roll. It was gaming. Oh yeah, so we're on 5 now.
Yep, we're on 5. Oh, let me switch back over real quick. So number 5, I policed up the emotes again. I actually put in the lips and then again. I did clarify I didn't get rid of many because unfortunately I don't actually have a good grasp of what people don't do and don't use. Like I know a lot of the ones that people do use. Like a lot of people use Fluffy, a lot of people use Hime, a lot of people use like oh yeah, golden yeah. Golden
I feel like I'm looking over it now. I feel like most of these are still used. Maybe like some of our redundant Ara memes, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know if I've seen people use Yodokobe a lot, but if we took away Yodokobe, you know they'd fucking complain.
Yeah, they would. So like I was like, all right, so my plan is right now is some of the more generic memes. I think I will. I guess the best word is tyrannyfy them and make a tyranny rabbit version of it and replace it. This is what I mean in the second part of when I start working from the backlogs, I will replace some of them, the meme ones, with original ones so we can keep better on theme. And I probably will actually make a new naming system for them so they'll be a little bit easier to maybe cycle through because, again, we have a lot of emotes. I'm pretty sure some people just don't know what emotes we have sometimes.
Yeah, and we're not hurting for emote slots either. We have 74 slots currently, thanks to Discord Nitro boosts.
Yeah.
So, like, we have plenty of space for emotes. It's just, are people actually using all these emotes, you know?
Yeah, so I want to basically, like, I haven't, like, figured out necessarily a system that I want to do, but basically, if it's an FGO theme emote, probably put FGO and then something in whatever it is. So basically, if you type, you know, colon FGO, you'll get a full list of all our FGO emotes, and it won't necessarily bounce. You won't necessarily get something random. Same for like the tyranny emotes. They'll probably start with, you know, like maybe like TYR and then whatever it is. But again, this is something that I actually have to take a hard look at and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that is that. And then 6, as Omega mentioned earlier, I I'll literally read this one out so you can see my meaning, because I put a personal touch in all these notes. But 6, Lucky's considering stages and the potential, but he can already see Omega being all like, the VC is fine for the showsums. That was actually intentional, because we like to be weird with words sometimes. I already got the setup how I like, and Lucky has nothing to say against that, which I don't. That's like, they're potentially cool. If they had come out like, I don't know, like maybe 2 years ago, we probably would be using them.
Yeah.
But
we've worked around them in the past, so while it's a cool concept, it's also not. I assume what they intended with stages was they intended it for a workaround for all the people who had to switch to using Discord for work stuff and school stuff because of COVID.
Yep.
Whereas, like, we were already using it as like a podcasting thing and already put in the extra work to do it as a workaround. Whereas I think stages is supposed to be a lot more streamlined and generic. Yeah. Again, I'm not to say that we won't ever do it, but we have worked around using Discord in this way for literally years.
Yeah. Like I said, I might still put up a stage or something, because it might still be useful for, like, people, like, who knows, like, I was looking at some people, like, people are doing it for viewings, for lectures. I heard some people even do, like, little DJ shows. I'm like, that could be interesting, but I don't know necessarily, because, like I said, we have a very diverse collection of nerds here. Like I said,
yes, and we do have some dedicated, like, miniature clubs, basically, in groups.
Yeah.
Who are focused on some stuff. So, you know, maybe an experimental stage VC, you know?
Yeah. And, like, we'll see. But speaking of our diverse things, there is one more thing I put on here, because I actually was looking it up. It was actually kind of interesting. But a bit of interesting news. We are less than 10 people away from being able to submit a request to Discord for the Discord Partner Program. Which, I don't know if that's something you want to do, Omega. Like, I actually don't know what it fucking entails.
Yeah, I'd have to double check. I think one of the things they do is that if you want to become a full-blown Discord partner, you can't have any NSFW channels. Which may be a little bit of a deal breaker for us. I'd have to double check if they changed their policy. Not that we, like, feel entitled to be horny on main or anything, but we already have to fight Discord's built-in NSFW thing a little bit, and we do have robust people who are not afraid to share some porn stuff, and we've definitely ourselves talked about how it's getting a little weird. Like, we didn't touch on this at all, but apparently eBay is, like, gonna make it so you can no longer sell anything that is sexually explicit.
That's pain.
They're just gonna drop it.
Pain.
Which I'm like, that's weird. Weird choice, eBay. I assume this is some kind of weird Apple thing. I posted a joke earlier in general, which I don't think a lot of people got, but it was because of that conversation where somebody online posted a tweet: new Cyberpunk RPG disadvantage, anti-sex cybernetics firmware. Your Apple iArm won't let you touch a naked person because of corporate policy. And I'm like, nope, this is correct. This is the world we're living in. It's a little bad. So we'd have to double check it, but that's still a cool milestone, you know, that we can get noticed for.
Notice us. So, oh yeah, there's one other thing I changed, but I didn't note because I actually forgot. But I do get complaints about this every once in a while. So I did actually set it up that if you are AFK in a VC for, I think it was 15 minutes, you will just get automatically moved to one of the general channels and muted there.
Ah, okay.
I was considering actually making some sort of VC jail, but I was like, we have too
many VC channels. We have 4 gaming channels that we technically don't need the 4th one, but we like the synergy.
Yeah, like, honestly, we could
have 2 general channels, because we need 2 general channels.
We do.
And then we've got 2 secret channels, which are one is secret gaming, which is where multiple people can speak. We do a lot of personal gaming and recording in there. And then we have our actual recording channel, which is just you and me can speak.
Yeah.
Where we record, but also patrons can listen to us.
Like, I feel like we can get rid of, I guess the one would be fucking Anna Gaming, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I like having the scaling.
I mean, like I said, we like the synergy, and you know what you can do, guys? You can just collapse the VCs. You can just collapse it. You can make it smaller.
So.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's everything. Like I said, it was like Lucky's getting better about doing a little bit more work each week. Honestly, I only do like a couple hours each Thursday, but I'm hoping like as I get more and more used to it, I'll put more and more time into it. So I'll eventually start knocking out those emotes. I just realized that I actually probably should make us a banner, like a banner, like a Discord, Twitter, YouTube banner, and I'm
Yeah,
just
we've had access to a Discord banner for a while. We just don't do anything with it. I think when we got access to that feature is when I stuck up this. Currently, you can see at the top of our Discord channel, our a Gustav Dore print from Inferno. It's King Minos consigning souls to hell, which I think is very funny and thematically appropriate, but it's not on brand.
no.
Well, it is on brand, but it's not brand dead is the problem. So, as cool as that is, yes, we could probably use official. When I first started the channel as the channel and like the renaming, I did come up with some very generic like thumbnails, backgrounds, and banners and stuff. But yeah, it's been nearly 4 years since I made some of those, and like I said, they're very, very generic. So
Yeah,
the new assets wouldn't be remiss.
Yeah, no, but this is one of the things that I have to think of what encapsulates Studio Omega and how do I transform that into a banner.
Yeah, I think the closest thing to a tagline we have is just I used it as the filler for some of the old streams and backdrops and stuff. Is like, what is it like? I don't remember the order, but I think it's PC, console, mobile, tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's true. We're everywhere. We're on all things.
So, like, if you have any ideas, like, what is Studio Omega to you, let me know. I could use the inspiration. Oof. So, yeah, I think that's it. Next week, I will definitely be putting in a few hours into probably cleaning up some emotes and trying to get them to be a little bit cleaner and more, what's the word I want to say, standard. Some of the emotes I have made have wildly different line widths. I'm just like, why'd I do this?
The faff keeps coming, and the faff keeps...
Mm-hmm.
And the faff keeps coming.
Yeah, it does. Listen, that's my superpower. I can just keep talking when I want to. But, nope, that's it. That's it from me.
Well, now as all of you now have Smash Mouth stuck in your head... We will actually finish our roundup, so that's why you should join our Discord. It's very cool, and it's getting cooler all the time. So join now. Link in the description and on our channel page, as always. If you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We are constantly in our war for those last, like, 11 to 9 exactly subs to get to 3K. We would appreciate if you're out there and you're listening to this, if you would help us win that fight, as we constantly go up and down, some of which is... probably humans unsubbing, but also a decent chunk of which is probably just YouTube trimming bot accounts and shit. I know it happens. So help us win that fight, and consider subbing, so you can get access to all our videos. Even if you're already subscribed, considering that bell for notifications, so you always know when we post a new video or when we streams. It's very important for you to catch what's up and not miss it. And... like, actually, no, I did not mention this earlier. It's not the right bit in the outro. The outro bit next is memberships. You can join our memberships by clicking a link in the description or the join button. You get access to some of our special emotes on YouTube as well, access to membership badges, and access to eventual BTS stuff whenever Lucky has something he feels like posting.
Yes.
Because, you know, that'd be how it be. What I did mention earlier in the show, though, is that you can always support us on Patreon. You can get access to this episode in audio format, downloadable for as little as $1 a month or $10 a year. You can get access to video releases early at higher levels, get access to topic polls, and get access to listening to all of our long-form podcast shows live, etc., etc. And, yeah, so that's the whole spiel. Really helps us out. Supports us. So, we will see you guys next week for more What's Up, where we'll have new things to talk about. I'll probably have punched more ninjas. We'll maybe have watched some more TV. I definitely need to catch up on that Invincible series. People are really talking that up.
I've seen the meme.
Who hasn't seen the meme? So many variations. Good meme format. Solid work. Like I said, we'll have done another Star Wars adventure where hopefully some funny stuff will have happened we can talk about,
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling at our D&D campaign we're also gonna hit another cool thing. We're gonna go to a spooky ruined elf city. That's gonna be fun. Dallas the barbarian cleric wizard already snuck into the city at night and saw a weird boss and to encapsulate the feeling that he had, our DM posted a screenshot from Bloodborne, so that's gonna be fun.
Oh no.
Yeah, just a spooky silhouette against the moon. We're just like, all right, cool, great. We're banking for that level up because I don't want to go into the whole story now, but we definitely had a funny moment where we played therapist to a character who'd been Geossed. And was just like, hey, so you've been mind-fuckled. Don't freak out. Everything's going to be fine. And so some of us really need to get to our next level so we can cast the spell to remove that curse. It's me. I need to get to the next level to cast that spell. Also, possibly the Artificer. I haven't looked at the Artificer spell list. Anyway, we'll maybe have some more fun D&D stories as well. You guys can hear my more progression. Hopefully this week, upcoming progression will be less scuffed and less yelly. I talked about this already on Let's Talk, but I got super blasted, and you guys could just watch the episode. People have already left comments. Somebody called out one of the statements I said, which is, I told the other guys as they're joking around who are not playing the game, I'm like, listen, you guys aren't in the hell I'm in. Shut up. So yeah, we'll have more great content like that in the upcoming week. Lucky, even though I know you're in a dialogue scene, the time has come to end the episode. So.
Alrighty. Well, everyone, later. See you next time.